Philly Chris.
MikeGinthemorning.com.
Ross, you with us?
MikeGinthemorning.com.
So tell everybody who listened to check us out at MikeGinthemorning.com. And with that, you know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride. Why don't you hit it, Russ?
Oh, hang on. I wasn't ready.
Surprise, surprise.
That's weird.
We'll
In
talk
other
amongst
news,
ourselves over here.
Water's
back in
wet,
business.
grass is green, sky is
Right.
blue, and Russ ain't ready.
Oh, hush, Mike.
I said,
If only you
hit
knew
it,
what
Russ.
goes into this. All right, here we go.
You know what time it is. Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
I want to remind our listeners about the powerhouse lineup we got here at the Freedom Station, 1180 AM WFYL. We've got Ben Shapiro bringing you the Ben Shapiro Show weekdays at 3 p.m. Scott Adams coming at you with the Scott Adams Show weekdays at 9 a.m. until noon. Second Amendment advocate Dana Lash coming at you weekdays from noon right until Ben Shapiro. And finally, we want to welcome him to the Freedom Station family. We've got Michael Knowles bringing you the Michael Knowles Show weekdays from 5 to 6 p.m. So don't forget to tune in and show him some love. You know, another sad day in the Mike G in the Morning family, Philly Chris.
Yeah, sorry, brother.
And I said this the last time. It feels like we're doing this far too often lately. Recently lost Al from the station, Al Locke, owner of the station. Lost Blackjack, good friend of the show. Lost my grandma earlier this year. Of course, we lost Ellie. We miss you, Ellie. Patroni. And unfortunately, yesterday evening, this world lost Gary Corbett, my godfather, to his battle with cancer. He had a vicious battle, though short-lived. It took a little while to figure out what exactly was going on. And he was in a lot of pain. Lost his ability to speak. Difficult to communicate. And for people who don't know, my Uncle Gary, my godfather, his name is Gary Corbett. He was a professional musician. He's a keyboard player for the band Kiss. He's the keyboard player for Cinderella. Played with many, many known artists. Won Grammys with the Marley Brothers. Co-wrote a hit song with Cyndi Lauper. Accolades beyond accolades. And just a extremely, extremely talented individual. We opened up the program with that song Hungry that we wrote and recorded for that video with the homeless veterans in New York City. What people might not know is that my godfather, my Uncle Gary, produced that track. He was heavily involved with it, played the keyboards on that track. And growing up around your rock star uncle, godfather, it was very cool to later on in life be able to make a song with him and have that opportunity in the studio. And although, you know, millions of people are aware of his career and know him because of his career. I've seen him play all over the world. And, you know, he's got all kinds of stories that they would ask him to come on radio shows and podcasts to tell these stories of being a professional musician on the road for basically his entire adult life.
Yeah.
When you think about it, pre-COVID, he was still out there. You know, he was on the road performing. And that aspect was kind of nice because regardless of where I was in life, whether it was in Oklahoma or elsewhere, Uncle Gary would be coming to town no matter where you were a couple of times a year.
Yeah, that's
So
pretty
it was
cool.
nice to be able to get together with him, if not in a home setting, around the holidays and stuff like that, but at least in the middle of the year, be able to catch him somewhere.
Yeah. Right.
But I don't really remember him for those things as much as I do sort of behind the scenes, regular family, regular uncle stuff. That's how I think I will remember him more than anything else. Russ, do you have in that doc? I got a couple of photos that I wanted us to bring up.
Yeah,
I just wanted to take the time to honor him because, frankly, when something like this happens, you lose somebody who's close to you. You really don't feel like going on the air and putting on the show. You think about canceling the show. And you really don't want to necessarily talk about it. It's not the first thing that comes to your mind. Hey, let's talk about this. But the alternative would be to not talk about it. And I don't think that would be the proper way to honor him and his
Sure.
legacy and what he meant to me. So up top there, you've got a screenshot Kiss tweeted out this morning. You're shocked and saddened to learn of the passing of Gary Corbett to cancer. Gary played keyboards on Paul's first solo tour and with Kiss during the Crazy Nights, Hot in the Shade, and Revenge tours. We shared many great times and send our condolences to his wife Lenora and his family. Of course, absolutely heartbroken for my Aunt Lenora. They were married, I believe, 37 years, going on 38 years.
Awesome.
Knew each other since they were teenagers. I got married a few years before I was born, as a matter of fact.
That's cool.
I was talking about that with her earlier today. It's just, you wake up to that news and obviously I feel down. Can't imagine what she's going through right now. To have someone who's been by your side for this many years and really, what do you remember about life before that person? You don't remember much of anything when you have something like that.
Yeah.
So my heart is absolutely broken for her. Chris, as a matter of fact, I believe a couple of weeks ago when you and I were together, she gave me a call and I had to step away for probably ended up being a good 45 minutes because of everything that was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, man.
Russ, if you'll scroll down just a little bit, that's a photo. He also played with Chris Cagle, a country musician, and I didn't know anything about country music until I went out. This is how I was introduced to country music, really. I remember I got out to Oklahoma, and we were on the baseball field. They're playing these country songs. And I asked somebody, what song is this? He said, what do you mean you don't know what song this is? And I said, well, what song is this? He said, yeah, do they not have very many country stations in New York, G? I said, no, they don't have any country stations.
They're not allowed in New York, I don't think.
Not very many. They don't have any country stations in New York.
Right.
And then he calls me up. He says, I'm going to be in Oklahoma. I said, this is great. Let me come see you. Who are you playing with? Chris Cagle. Oh, I didn't know who he was. And I tell somebody on the team, I said, Chris Cagle. They're like, are you kidding me? Yeah. yeah. My uncle's going to be in town. They know we got to go see Chris Cagle. So we went, hung out with him. So that picture right there is from when they played Newton, New Jersey. I had just graduated law school. I don't know if I had taken the bar yet or it was coming up on taking the bar, but I was living in northern New Jersey at the time, and he was right there. So we got to get together over there. Thank you.
He looks happy there. You both look happy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was always great to see each other. And I've seen him all over the country. It's not like we just hung out at my place. I always had the opportunity to see him. Seen Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas.
Who did he listen to, Mike? Do you know who his favorite bands were, by any chance?
He listened to all kinds of things. That was the interesting thing about him. It wasn't like, you look at him and you think rock and roll guy,
Right.
but he listened to all kinds of different music, and that's why he was so brilliant. I think. I mean,
Mhm.
anything he could play classical music.
Yeah.
You play
Well,
it.
good
He played with
music's
the
good music,
play
right?
with the Marley Brothers.
Mm.
He was able to get in just about anything. Russ, if you'll scroll down just a little bit, it's a photo that I actually took that first concert when I was in Oklahoma. I brought a bunch of my buddies, and they thought I was cool because of it. But I just come out to Oklahoma, and that was with Chris Cagle over in some venue in Oklahoma. I don't recall where exactly it was, but he was playing over there. Excellent. I love that show. I love going to see him play with Chris. Great songs, and the band was all former rock musicians. So you had him. You had, I believe, the bass player was Meatloaf's former bass player. So they had a rock and
Oh,
roll
yeah, okay.
band with a
Right.
country, singer songwriter. Really cool stuff. If you scroll down a little bit more, Russ, I think if you scroll down the next picture, that's actually okay. That's the same show because when I first got to Oklahoma, you see, I've got that big RoboCop looking
Oh,
brace on my
yeah.
elbow. I had just had Tommy John surgery,
Mm.
the complete elbow reconstruction. So that was my rehab year out there,
Wow.
and got to hang out with Uncle Gary over in Oklahoma. And Russ, if you scroll down just a little bit more, um, this is really how I remember him. That's actually at my parents' house on Christmas one year, a few years back, and just sitting on the ground playing with the dogs.
It's cool.
He absolutely loved dogs. He had dog Princess. Absolutely loved. Did everything for her. She was real sick for a while, and eh, things that he did. He and I would talk about that because we were dealing with Ellie, obviously, at the time. And
Right.
so he was very understanding. He knew exactly where I was coming from with that. But yeah, I couldn't have asked for a better godfather in this life than I got out of Gary Corbett. To have somebody who you can call with anything, at any time, and just be there for you, and always told me how proud of me he was. And obviously, coming from him, you're a kid growing up around this famous musician, and just knowing him as uncle. But get older, you realize everything that he's accomplished. It's like, well, I'm proud of you, proud of them, and hear him say things like he was proud of me. But he really did that for his entire life, and professional musician on the road with these very famous bands all over the place.
That's pretty cool.
And I just remember, and for a long time, think about it. Like my
Mhm.
father was a professional musician as well,
Yeah.
and he got out of it on a full time basis. Not that he completely got out of it, still involved, but he got out of it on a full time basis as far as being on the road, touring, and that being his full time gig. Probably a little bit after I was born. But
That's what movie star, isn't he?
also makes films. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Uncle Gary, till the very end, out there doing it. And I remember talking to him in recent months, saying, "Can't wait till things start opening back up. I want to get back out on the road."
Right. Wow. Mm.
And we're gonna miss him a whole lot. It's difficult to talk about, but I don't like the alternative of not bringing him up because he was such an important part of my life, and I owe it to him to bring it up and thank him and honor him, pay tribute to him. So thank you, Uncle Gary, for a good 34 years.
Mm.
Best I could ever possibly ask for. We're gonna miss you very, very much. Liberty, are you there? Did we lose Liberty?
No, she's muted.
I think she's muted. Yeah.
She's muted. All right. She had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times. Hey, loved animals. Just most caring, good-hearted guy.
Yeah, I'm so sorry,
I
brother.
don't know if people want to hear this in his circle, but he was a supporter of the Second Amendment. Always supported what I did.
That's good. Hey, then no, that's good to know.
A Brooklyn guy, musician, moved out to Florida for a period where he lived a couple blocks from Lenny Kravitz. Might have even been in the same neighborhood. So
Oh, I
they
love
did
Lenny
some stuff
Kravitz. Yeah, he's
together.
cool too. Yeah. Oh, did they? That's cool.
And then went to Tennessee.
Mm.
Ultimately,
It's got to be
where-
hard being on the road that much. I mean, I'm sure it's
Sure.
amazing, but it's got to be challenging too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely not easy.
Yeah.
And the strangest thing, Chip, who's been on the program, he grew up with the son of one of the other members of Cinderella.
Hmm.
And we just heard that Jeff died. It was yesterday,
Really?
this morning. So they pass away, bandmates
Oh.
for all these years, pass
That's
away
crazy.
within 24 hours of each other.
That's kind of bizarre. Yeah. Universe is strange, isn't it?
Out of control. We obviously, our thoughts, our prayers go out to his family and his son.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got not much more to say about it other than love you, miss you, and most of all, thank you. For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So I want to talk a little bit more about the Second Amendment. We've had some news come in this week, and it's going to be a difficult transition. I'll admit to that. It's difficult to do the program this week, but that's what he would have wanted. He was very much of the show must go on kind of guy. He taught me a lot about professionalism over the years, and that he did shows when he didn't necessarily feel like doing them. So here we are. Why don't we get Richard Roberts? On the Skype,
Right.
because I want to discuss this Second Amendment case that just came down out of the Fourth Circuit with Rich, and that'll be good. And Chris, I know you've got a bunch of things that you want to discuss later on in the program, so we will get to those.
Sure. Yeah.
Let's just get to Rich while we can. And I know that you had him on standby, right?
Yeah. He did respond, so he's ready for you. Yep.
Okay.
I think he's on now.
Okay,
Looks like
Russ
we
has got the hang on doing technical things, and it looks like we've got Richard S. Roberts Jr. Richard, are you with us?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
We've
Welcome
got
him
you.
back by popular demand.
By popular demand. That's right. Hey, Russ, I want you to scroll down in the doc because I've got some extra stuff for our listeners and our audience members. If you go down. Yeah, why don't you make that photo a little bit larger on the top there? Make that photo just a little bit. Scroll into that. I found this. So I don't know if you were listening
Look at
before
these
we
two.
got. I know I spoke to you earlier today, Rich. I lost my godfather last night, and I was going through some old photos to try to get what I could of him, for the family and everything like that. And I scrolled across this one, and I said, "That is vintage Justice Brothers, is it not?" Did I lose Richard?
And we still got him.
Yeah,
You left him
Is
speechless,
that not
though.
vintage Justice Brothers right there, that photo?
that is quite vintage Justice Brothers right there.
You know what? I look at that, and it's almost like when I see a photo of my dad from the 70s, and it's like, look at those clothes they were wearing.
You guys need your own
Man,
theme
I
song.
remember that case. That was right. Yeah, I remember that one. That
That
was
was
where we're defending that. That was the First Amendment case or a second First Amendment case.
That's right. Yeah, it was I think it was the second one because the ACLU, we had a reputation because the the Center County First Amendment case.
Right, that's right. And she got
So they
referred
reached
to.
out with this one, and we represented that guy. He got the case kicked in like 30 seconds.
Yeah,
We didn't, we were all prepped up and everything. We're getting ready to cross-examine the officer and make this constitutional, moving, compelling argument, and the case gets kicked in about 30 seconds.
they're like, we're not getting into that.
It's just game over. I had to bring that one up. That is a long time ago. That's over in the Harrisburg area, and I had to bring that up. Why don't you scroll down just a little bit further, Russ? Because I wanted to share this with our listeners that Carl from my office made this up. Yeah, everybody
Nice.
knows our nickname, the Justice Brothers, and he made a billboard for the Justice Brothers. What do you think of that, Philly Chris?
1-800-JUSTICE BROTHers.
Yeah. I love how it says on the bottom.
JUSTIs.
Do you see what it says on the bottom? Can you read that, Chris?
It's a little small. Let me see if I can make it bigger. What's it say down there?
It seems like too many numbers, but it isn't. Just dial them real fast. Which is
There we
it's
go.
almost identical to what you said in the Bag of Bees commercial, right?
That's
In
right,
all- in
that's
all the
right.
commercials. Yeah, definitely way too many numbers.
Right, right.
It'll work.
But
But
it'll,
I
don't
like
worry.
that Justice Brothers billboard. We're gonna have to use that one sometime. What do you think,
No,
Rich?
Yeah.
Jeff said we need to get some of those up.
Get them up in Lehigh Valley, maybe over on 22. There's
Yeah,
nice
yeah.
Justice Brothers.
22.
If anybody else,
Montgomery County too, because that's our favorite place to be.
that's right. We want more cases in Montgomery County. We have a lot of fun down there. All right. they might not have a lot of
I don't
fun.
know if the district attorney's office would agree with that.
All right. Yeah, they don't have a lot of fun. They don't have- we have a lot of fun. Yeah. So I had to bring that up. If our audience members have any ideas for some new Justice Brother ads, let us know, and we'll see if Carl can put those together. I thought that was pretty good, though.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
definitely
it's a good job there.
Definitely needed cheerleaders, Mike. Definitely
Yeah.
needed.
Mm-hmm.
Why not? Why not? The fan club. DG on the comments says, "Better Call Saul has competition." Also, some very, very kind words from Randy and CB. Thank you both very much. Thank you for joining the program. So, Rich, I want to talk a little bit about this Second Amendment case that came out of the Fourth Circuit dealing with the law restricting handgun purchases from dealers 18 to 20-year-olds. And you and I talked about this offline a little bit. And the first thing that came to my mind is more of a practical thing than anything else. And it was, well, if you can sign your life over and put your life on the line to go lose it overseas, fighting in our military, then why should you not be able to own a handgun in the United States, or at least purchase one from an FFL? And that's really not necessarily a legal argument. Now, the court does get into that in the opinion a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. It does quite a bit. I mean, the first thing you should point out, it's a Fourth Circuit opinion. It covers Maryland, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, West Virginia. So unfortunately for our listeners in Pennsylvania, this is not going to help their teenagers purchase handguns right now.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah. That's why I say
Right.
yet, because you still got a little bit of ways to go. When
Right.
we had that case come out of the Ninth Circuit that seemed favorable, and I was on Newsmax talking about it, everybody's all excited. I said, no, not so fast. We've seen this movie before where the Ninth Circuit goes out there and you get lucky with a 3-judge panel and they go somebody's way, and then they bring it back en banc, which means everybody gets to hear it, right? They get all the judges involved, and then they make their ultimate decision. And a lot of times there's a different outcome.
And this was a 2-1 decision. So obviously, even in the 3-judge panel, there was one judge who dissented from the majority opinion in this particular case. So it wouldn't surprise me to go on bonk and get overturned. But I read through, it's 100 and some odd pages, the opinion. It goes through historical analysis. And the basic conclusion is when the Second Amendment was passed, there wasn't a bar between 18, 19, and 20-year-olds in the purchase of firearms. And in fact, the thing that the judge spends the most time on is that at the time of the ratification of the Second Amendment, almost every state, if not every state, required all males, able-bodied males, 18 and over, to enlist in a militia, bring their own firearms and their own ammunition.
Right.
So if that was the understanding of the right to keep and bear arms
Right.
at the time of the founding, why is it different now?
Yeah, then it would be protected. That's the idea. That because they always go back to Scalia's opinion in Heller. He talks about traditional prohibitions, and they always look back to those. They're like, okay, well, these kinds of restrictions were traditionally acceptable at that time, and if you're going to go by that, even if you're looking at it through that lens. So at that time, they were asking everybody to show up with your own equipment, right?
Right.
not only are you allowed, but you're required. You're mandated. You must
Bring your own
today
ammo.
You're not
even.
allowed at all. It doesn't really make sense, does it, Rich?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And I mean, they talked a bit about the way, and this has been the majority for most of the country with the circuit courts, on how they judge Second Amendment cases following Heller, because Heller laid out a baseline, but they didn't really articulate a test. McDonald was the same way, as how do we judge these laws when they come before us? And they always go to that Scalia list of traditional restrictions. If the restriction is on that list that he mentions in Heller, it's presumptively okay. And if it's not on that list, they go to the two-factor test, and they look at the history of the Second Amendment around the time of ratification, and is it rational basis or intermediate scrutiny? So, I mean, that's where we're at. Most circuits now use that two-part test, and you have to get through both parts in order to find that the law is invalid. And this one it did, and it hinged on the history of it. And I think, you got to look at what was the understanding of the right at the time of the founding, and that's what we have.
Now, in the analysis, while they're walking through all of that, they found it was not presumptively lawful, right?
No, it was not, because it did not meet the lawful conditions. One of them they talked about, the government argued, was commercial sales, which is allowable under the Second Amendment, but this was a purchase to buyers and not commercial sellers. It was a sale of firearms. And then they also use a long-standing prohibition. How long-standing was it? And they got rid of that long-standing prohibition. One, they didn't agree that long-standing didn't mean it's just been around for a while. Long-standing was a modifier that had been long-standing since the founding or since the ratification of the Second Amendment. And they looked at the historical record and found we talk about the 18-year-olds all able-bodied males must register for the militia, must bring your own firearms and ammunition when called upon. So the long-standing, and they tracked back to the long-standing, we'll say, gun restrictions to after the Civil War. And it's seemingly like the government would use those long-standing prohibitions enacted by the southern states following the Civil War to disarm newly freed slaves, to say, hey, they've been restricting firearms rights for 156 years.
Right.
Like, wait a minute. So you're going to go to the southern states after the Civil War were scared of the former freed slaves uprising, and you're going to use that illegal restriction on firearms to justify a further illegal restriction. So I'm not buying that. You're going to have to come up with something better than that for me.
But we've had it for a long time.
Right. Right.
Oh, then it must be okay. Never mind.
That's
I
fine.
thought it was an interesting argument. They said those factors you're using, yes, they have been around a long time, but it was done to discourage ownership by a newly freed people. I don't know if that's the law that you should hinge your entire argument on.
Right.
Sounds a little flawed.
I guess when you're grasping at straws, you find anything, but
Sure.
I don't know who the lawyer is who wrote the brief and had to stand there at oral argument. Well, ex-slaves weren't allowed to have firearms, so that means 18-year-old. I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Could you please repeat that?
Did you do a mock argument for this?
Yeah.
And they said
Right.
You just
Okay.
made our point.
Did you do that in front of anybody in a conference room? And maybe even the guy who's bringing everybody coffee says, hold on, you might not want to say that. Nobody?
Would you like
Sent
to
that
revise your
dude
statement,
packing?
sir?
And then nobody want to challenge that guy?
I must have heard you wrong. I'm sure that was a mistake. But did you just say?
Clearly, you didn't mean what you just said.
That's the Mike G when the prosecutor gives him some weird statement. He's like, I must be mistaken. My client told me
Yeah.
this, but I know he has to be relaying this communication wrong.
Right.
This you said. And then usually what happens, like, no, that's not what I said. What I actually meant was, and I go, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Right.
Glad we were able to clear that up. Now, Rich, I looked into the dissent a little bit, and it's a lot of what you would expect. One of the points that they made, they're talking about how Justice Clarence Thomas called the Second Amendment the disfavored right in his dissent in that fairly recent case. And there's a little bit of a clapback here on the dissent, saying, no, it's not because the right's disfavored, it's because there's harm that could come along with exercising that right. Well, I'm not going to say that what you're saying doesn't make sense, but isn't that also true of any place where there's freedom and any instance where you have a right, that there are responsibilities that come along with that right? And there are bad things that can happen when you have a free people who can exercise rights. First Amendment, for example, right? Or Fourth Amendment, right? If you're not able to find the evidence from the bad guys who are legitimately doing things because of the Fourth Amendment, then you can say you're putting the public in danger. Does that mean that, we got to get rid of the Fourth Amendment and we've got to further restrict people's rights and ignore their right against unreasonable searches and seizures just so we can get the bad guys?
Well, I've many clients that have walking free today who were saved by that Fourth Amendment, so they certainly wouldn't agree with limiting that particular right because an officer illegally searched their car or their home. But I mean, there's always negative things in any exercising of rights. But if you start chipping away at it to get rid of a bad guy or a bad outcome, eventually, who decides what a bad outcome is, right? We restrict hate speech. I think is a good example, right? First Amendment doesn't cover hate speech. And okay, well, what's hate speech? And then you have a definition. All right, well, 10 years from now, is the thing that's not hate speech now hate speech? And now the person who advocated to get rid of hate speech is the person being censored. And he goes, well, it wasn't hate speech 10 years ago. Like, nah, we changed our mind. And then the problem, it protects everything. It's the hateful, vile speech that nobody likes is the reason the First Amendment exists. Because if it only protected speech we liked, then we wouldn't need it. Because what's it there for? Everybody agrees on this is good speech, this is bad speech. There's no reason to have it there. And the Fourth Amendment is a great example because I know Mike doing criminal defense, me doing criminal defense. The Fourth Amendment can sometimes be a defendant's best friend. And I've had serious drug cases where the guy was certainly carrying drugs, but the officer illegally stopped the car or illegally searched the trunk of the car and found the drugs, and that evidence goes away. And that may not be right to most people. I think 90% of people, something is the gut feeling is that guy should suffer some consequences. But if you overlook his right to be free from unreasonable searches and seizures and allow that evidence to come in, it doesn't just stop with the one bad guy.
Yeah, and I think that's a misconception that people have to listen to something like that. Well, a bad guy went free because of the Fourth Amendment. Well, we need to get rid of the Fourth Amendment then. No. Hold on. We want that Fourth Amendment. We want restraint on government in terms of searches and seizures. We want a Fifth Amendment, a right against self-incrimination, right? Because you could really apply this to all kinds of things.
That's what happened with Cosby, right? The Fifth
What's
Amendment.
That?
That's what happened with Cosby, right? Cosby got off because of the Fifth Amendment, right?
Well, yeah, because they promised they wouldn't prosecute him. So the Fifth Amendment
use his
from self-incrimination and a criminal case. So once the prosecutor,
and they promised they wouldn't use what he said, right?
You will not be prosecuted, right? Or you get an immunity deal, which is part of the issue. You can no longer claim the Fifth Amendment because you're not incriminating yourself, which is why he was forced to testify in that deposition, which found out it wasn't just this one woman, it was a series of women. This is kind of his modus operandi. He would drug them and go from there. And I know that the accuser's lawyer said we'd rather have him take the Fifth. No, you wouldn't. Because the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination, or the testimony where he said, well, she's not the only one. I've done this 50 times. What are you talking about? I went worse than, we have an adverse inference. So, I mean, that's the situation, because without the Fifth Amendment protection, he's forced to testify. If we get rid of the testimony, certainly it would have been beneficial to that accuser. But there's a lot of innocent people who are under pressure from the police, who false confessions. Mike and I know plenty of people who work at the Innocence Project. False confessions is one of the worst offenders for false convictions, and that comes from officer pressure and people who don't know their rights.
Mhm.
And if they don't even have the right, you get people who don't know to be quiet are forced to make confessions that aren't really confessions just to get out of that situation. So
Right. You have people who are under a stressful circumstance, not even in the aftermath of a critical incident. We're talking about a self-defense shooting or anything of that nature. But some people, they're pulled over by the police. They immediately get that adrenaline rush and they get nervous because they're not used to that type of an interaction. And if you're put on the spot and forced to answer questions, and you don't want to be in this situation where you're being detained, I haven't done anything wrong, I don't want to get in trouble, people can say things that they don't exactly mean or aren't exactly true, can be taken out of context. It's as simple as the My Cousin Vinny example, right? Where they're saying you did X, Y, and Z, and he wasn't even there when it took place. And he's like, I shot the clerk? But the transcript is, I shot the clerk.
Right.
There's no tone or
Yeah.
Right. There's
Says
no
right here.
tone,
You admitted.
intonation, inflection, none of that. It's just it's all he says. I shot the clerk. I shot the clerk. Meanwhile, he's asking the question. That's a very simple reason. Listen, our founding fathers didn't sit in a huddle somewhere and say, all right, guys, we got to really protect the bad guys. So what do we do? How do we make this Constitution to make these criminals bulletproof, right? I don't think that's what they were thinking. They knew with good reason that when the government has too much power, particularly in the context of criminal prosecution, that is no way to have a free people. Would you agree with that, Rich?
I'd certainly agree with that, and I think the first 10 amendments are proof of that. And I talk to people, and it's not to bash our wonderful men and lady of law enforcement, but 5 of the first 10 amendments protect us from the government, specifically from police and prosecution. The second, you can make an argument, obviously tyrannical government, it's mentioned in the Fourth Circuit opinion. The 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th all protect us from the police, from the district attorney's office, from the government in criminal prosecutions. Right.
Rachel Maddow said on television one time that some people believe that the Second Amendment is in place to prevent a tyrannical government. I don't know if I'm quoting her exactly correctly, but this is the gist of what she said. Some people believe that the Second Amendment is in place to prevent a tyrannical government. That is a view. It's a radical view, but it's a view. Is it real? I know that nobody wants to go out there and talk about the overthrow of a tyrannical government. That's not pleasant discussion or anything like that. But to ignore the historical context, as was mentioned in this opinion, I think it's just disingenuous and dishonest.
We can certainly have a discussion whether that in the current circumstance would be realistic, right? Considering the right of gun owners to fight off a tyrannical government, considering the firepower government has now. But it doesn't change the fact that that is a reason for the amendment in the historical context, right? Because people look at you and go, what are you going to do? And that may or may not be true. I don't know. I'm hoping we never have to gather up as our own militia to fight a tyrannical government. I don't want to find out whether that's true or not. But no matter what side of the argument you come down on the side is that is a reason that they passed the amendment. It's in the Federalist Papers. Madison and Hamilton both talk about it, and about a reason that an armed citizenry is a defense to a tyrannical government. They say it in the Federalist Papers. They talk about it in the ratification conventions in the states. That is a reason that they have these amendments, is to protect the people from the government. And that's really what it is. Yeah. Now, you can talk about practicality. I don't know. I mean, that would be a different
Don't worry. I just saw an alert come up on my computer that Biden signed an executive order and he got rid of the first 5 amendments just a few minutes ago.
just for sakes, that's good, because the 6th Amendment is the right to counsel. So Mike and
so we're still in business. We're still in business, buddy.
I'm going to call you now, Rich. Hold on. Pick up your phone.
I almost had to tell my wife we're going to medical school. I'm like, no, he cut off at 5. We're good.
Cut it off at 5.
But I mean, that's the point. We're talking about historical reasons. Why is this amendment passed? Why is an individual right among the people? Right. That's why it's an individual right. It's to protect you, not self-defense solely, protect you from a tyrannical government. It makes them less likely to come knocking on people's doors when they have a right, to have weapons to defend themselves.
Right. Yeah.
DJ just made a good comment on the YouTube there. He said he will forget those by tomorrow. No worries. Meaning he'll forget the executive orders.
The executive
tomorrow.
order.
That's pretty good. Thank you for that comment.
And he's saying it worked for Cosby. If you're lucky enough to afford a good lawyer, those protections should help you. Oh yeah, we would certainly want to use your constitutional protections to your advantage, and that's the challenge sometimes is helping law-abiding citizens understand the need to exercise your rights, because people feel like if they've done nothing wrong and they've got nothing to hide, then they should just cooperate and forfeit their rights, give up their rights, when no, you should be exercising your rights and protecting yourself to the greatest extent of the law, right? Our constitutional rights are for law-abiding citizens, not just for criminals. That would be ridiculous.
That's correct. And I think that's the biggest frustration that I run into. And Mike, you've done more than me, but you and I have done seminars where we talk about the right to self-defense and the right to use and keep and bear arms. And the question I get, well, I got nothing to hide. I'm just going to tell them what happened. And I go, all right, I understand that's your gut instinct. And that's probably most good people's gut instincts. I've done nothing wrong. I'm going to tell the police. But again, we talk about the My Cousin Vinny example. And I might steal that. You know, you don't have, I shot the clerk. Well, no inflection, no tone. You don't know what the question was. When somebody reads it on a piece of paper, it says, hey, what happened? Oh, I shot the clerk. So you shot the said you shot the clerk. Well, that's not how. Well, how did you mean it? And then at that point, you've lost.
Hey,
right?
So you're saying that when you said I shot the clerk, you didn't mean I shot the clerk. Is that what you're saying? All right, that's what it comes down to in court.
Why did you tell the officer you shot him?
It's going to look at it and go, he said he shot the clerk. That's the end of the case. Doesn't matter what else you say. And it could be that innocent My Cousin Vinny example where he was just kind of questioning, why are you saying I shot the clerk? Right, but you don't get that from a cold piece of paper. And that's what you have to understand.
I had this attorney teaching a CLE one time, and he's my friend's father. He's been an attorney for longer than I've been alive, and he looks like De Niro. Especially his bankruptcy, but he looks like De Niro. Watching his CLE is like De Niro does bankruptcy. And I was at one of his classes live one time because I was teaching something for the CLE company, and he was talking about bankruptcy proceedings where you're talking about assets and everything like that. And he said it could be difficult sometimes if you got a client up there and doesn't exactly tell the whole story when it comes to what their assets are. That's the best way I can explain it. And he said that he's talking about a duty of candor to the court and correcting the record, making sure you're not misleading the court. And he said sometimes you've got to rehabilitate your client and get them up on the stand and saying something like, so when you said that you didn't own that Mercedes a few minutes ago, did you mean that you own it?
Didn't mean did, right?
That's right. Yeah. It's difficult to explain
Depends
that
on the
one
meaning
away.
of did, yeah.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on what your meaning of the word did is.
Where's Russ when we need him?
I did not
Right
own that
over here,
Mercedes.
guys.
I did not own that Mercedes.
I did not own it at
That
the
is
time.
not my vehicle.
Was the
I
former
never
president,
told
but he was
anybody
a
to
lawyer,
lie.
right? Well, he
Right.
was a lawyer, and even at that point, you can see how he gets twisted up and sounds like an idiot in that deposition, which almost sank his entire presidency. So it's not just the normal Joe Schmo on the street. It's an individual who's been an attorney for many years at that point, knew what the questions are, knew what the possibilities are. So if you got an educated attorney who's in this field and in this world day in and day out, and doesn't understand what happens when your words get twisted and they ask you questions, they start poking holes in your statement. As a person who has no real background in that kind of world, how do you think you're going to stand a chance? The police who are questioning you when you just want to tell them the truth, they literally do this every day for a living. You got pulled into this situation off the street for whatever the reason is, an investigation, you're pulled over by the police. Why do you think that you're, one, smarter than the police officer? I think there's a lot of mistake people make that cops are dumb, and they're not. And that, if you start talking, they're going to let you talk because eventually you'll talk yourself into a circle. That's what people just do.
They do that every day, too. What they do every day.
I think
Sure.
Mike and I when I talk prep witnesses for the stand, it's don't say yes, but just answer the question. And the worst thing you can do is explain yourself. And go, why? Because as soon as you start talking, I'm jotting down notes going up. There's a hole. There's a hole. There's a hole. Because I love when police officers or any witness ever gets up there and starts explaining themselves. Because I'm like, oh, that's a hole. That's a hole. That's a hole. That's a hole. Right. And then, the worst thing is when you get on the stand, if they answer a question that they think sounds bad for whatever the question is, they then try to explain themselves, and it doesn't make it any better. It usually makes it worse.
Mm-hmm.
I got another comment over here from DG. We shop around in advance for many things, but don't think to shop in advance for a lawyer. The biggest misconception, it would never happen to me. That's absolutely 100% on the nose, that second portion. That people always think that it will not happen to them. I can't tell you how many times I've had a case where somebody calls up my office. They've unfortunately been involved in some kind of a self-defense incident. And they may have gotten my business card from a seminar or heard about me at a seminar, and for whatever reason are not members of U.S. Law Shield. And they say, oh, well, I never got around to it. Man, so you can't afford not to get around to it, man.
Yeah.
It happens. It's heartbreaking when that happens, but it happens far more often than you would think. There's a reason why people own firearms, to protect yourself, because if you truly believe in your heart of hearts that it'll never happen to you, then why would you even own a firearm in the first place? If you really think you'll never, ever have to defend yourself under any circumstances, it's like making a prediction. My house is never going to burn down in a million years. It's not very likely to happen, so I'm not going to have a fire extinguisher, right? If we really thought it were not possible, then we wouldn't be gun owners in the first place. Obviously, we've recognized that there's a possibility that there's going to be a life or death situation where we have to protect ourselves or our loved ones. And that's why we've made that decision to cross into that lifestyle. And if you're not ready to make that decision, maybe the answer is that if people think it would really never happen to them, they've made that decision without being ready to make that decision. Philly Chris, is that, I want to sort of back away from the legal talk for just a second here. What do you think it is that makes people feel like it would never happen to them? Because we see that even as times are changing right now, we see people who still have that mindset. What do you think it is, Philly Chris?
It's a great question, and having some experience working directly with you at Law Shield and talking to a lot of folks with and without memberships, I think that they just think that the statistical probability that it's really going to be them is so remote, because sometimes people would walk out of there not getting the membership or, having a reason not to get it. And I, as you know, as a member, I had to call. Luckily, it wasn't a critical incident, but I really never thought I would have to call the hotline, even though I was a member.
Right.
And, the time I was traveling at the airport and the TSA tried to, do some illegal things with me at the counter there when checking my firearm and pulling me out of security. So, I really never thought I would need it, but there I found myself in a very, interesting situation where I didn't expect it to happen because I did everything right. I followed all the rules, all the procedures, and all of a sudden, 5:30 in the morning, I'm, calling the hotline. So, and especially now, the way the political landscape is now, it's amazing to me that people wouldn't have some sort of protection, especially with how inexpensive it is compared to, just a few hours of your time or Richard's time or, a good attorney to represent you in these horrifying situations that can destroy your life. So,
yeah. I think it all comes down to having a plan, right? And being prepared for these types of situations, just like having a fire drill and having your fire extinguisher and making sure your smoke detectors are good to go. That's all part of having a plan for this, unfortunate scenario that is possible. And nobody wants to be in that situation, and it doesn't happen to everybody, certainly. You probably only think of a handful of people who have had legitimate house fires.
Sure.
But we still want to be prepared for those kinds of situations.
Right.
What do you think it is, Rich, because you deal with a lot of people in the criminal justice system, and I'll say this, a lot of people that I deal with, and you and I have worked cases together for many years, so, I'd say a decent percentage of our cases have been together, but I deal with people who, I'd say 80% of my clients, maybe, they've never been involved in the criminal justice system before, on the criminal side, right? Obviously, if I'm going back and trying to get somebody's rights restored or I'm getting them a pardon or something like that, they've already had some kind of criminal involvement. And many times it's people who they had something happen years ago and they've since turned their life around. But when I'm dealing with people who are getting jammed up in the criminal justice system, a lot of times this is their first rodeo. This is the first time that they've been in trouble. They're otherwise law-abiding citizens. They've had to protect themselves or something of that nature. With the gentleman we had where he came from out of state, didn't realize the handgun in the vehicle law, stuff like that. Never been in trouble otherwise, spotless record, upstanding citizen. Why do you think it is that people don't think to have that plan and think it could never happen to them? Have you had anybody sort of relay this sort of thing, feelings of regret that they had never had any kind of plan in place?
Well, yeah, I think anybody, and I think for most criminal defense attorneys, most of the clients that we all have are not regulars. Let's put it that way. I don't have too many recurring clients. I have had a couple, but not too many.
I've had a couple, yeah.
I've had a couple. I had one client when I was working at the former firm I worked at. I got him a not guilty verdict on 3 straight DUIs. I told him, listen, man, you need to go to get some rehab because you're not going to keep getting this lucky.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I mean, the regrets I have is not realizing or not thinking about those rights, because I can go through a case and I can't count how many times I've looked through discovery, I've looked through the evidence, what the officer observed, crime scene photographs, things like that. And I go, all right, well, here's some issues. Here's things the cops didn't look at. Here's some explanations. They're assuming X, Y, and Z. Really consider A, B, and C, which is a problem because the burden of proof is on them. And then I always come to, then I made a statement. And then I go, okay, now we got, and then that statement, I go, we got issues here, 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 and here, but you said this. And that's the situation. And then the usual response I get is, do you want me to lie to the police? And I go, under absolutely no circumstances do I ever want you to lie to the police. So then what am I supposed to do? Not say anything at all. That's really what I want you to do. I don't want you to talk at all. I'm not talking. I want a lawyer. My lawyer's on the way. Lawyer up and shut up is Mike's famous little phrase here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's nothing wrong with that because I could deal with the case. You may not have the best case in the world, but it's a winnable case until I read your statement. And I go, that's a problem because the jury is going to say, that's what you said. Get on the stand and say, well, I didn't mean it. And then the usual response is, well, that's closer in time to the incident happened. We can agree memories fade over time. And you're more likely to remember exactly what happened then than you do now. And you didn't have time to reflect on it and talk to your attorney and figure out what the best thing is to say. And they go, that's the truthful statement. When in fact, especially after a critical incident, a self-defense incident, your mind is going 100 miles an hour, adrenaline rush, physiological effects. That's probably the least likely for you to be able to tell exactly what happened at that point.
Fantasy. I was watching something on one of the channels. I don't want to give the wrong channel and give them a bad name, but it was some program about firearms and self-defense, and they were sort of giving people advice on to what to do in the aftermath. And they were saying, calmly and politely explain to the officer what happened. And they have like the guy in the backseat of the police car just sort of explaining to the police officer, nice and matter of factly. It's like, that is absolute fantasy. It's like, if you watch, there was, remember the Philando Castile case, Rich? Remember that?
Yeah.
Do you remember watching that video on TV? What was your face like? What was your reaction to that when you're watching that guy bleeding out on camera? My reaction was, oh my, I'm pointing and that's watching something on TV. Can you imagine if you're there in the moment to think that you're going to sit there cool, calm, and collected and explain it politely and calmly to the law enforcement officer? That is such bogus fantasy. It's so far from reality. It's nonsense. I can't believe that they actually put that out there. And somebody with a straight face say, this is what you do. So be careful about what you watch on TV.
I want to just say, but I am one of those people. A lot of the people at seminars are very shocked when they hear that. And that's why people remember Lawyer Up and Shut Up so much, because it really is intimidating. Like, you do think, I didn't do anything wrong, and you want to explain your side of the story. I believe that that's natural, and I am definitely one of those people who fall in that category. So I think what you guys do is so important because it's just natural to see I look guilty if I don't tell my side of the story. So I think that's why what you guys do is just, you got to keep saying it. You got to get it in people's heads.
I always have a response to that. I go, would you rather look guilty at home or feel innocent in jail? I don't know.
Right.
That is so true.
I love that. That's
Until
great.
you don't know until you know.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
But I mean, no, and I don't disagree. I mean, that's a natural reaction. I did nothing wrong. I want to tell the law enforcement officer my side of the story. I'm right. I'm
Sure.
good. And I think Mike has taught me this, and I have used this when talking to officers who inexorably call us, hey, we want to talk to your guy. I say no. He calls, and they don't give up. They're doing their job. And I goes, all right, here's the deal. I bring my guy in, gives a statement. Okay? You believe him. He's credible. You agree not to charge? The inevitable answer, except Mike apparently had one case, the inevitable answer is like, well, no. Then what am I coming in there for?
Right.
What am I coming in there for?
Sounds like a reasonable request.
So if we don't make a statement, you're charging him. And if we do make a statement, you're charging him.
He sounds credible, by the way. Even if he sounds credible.
If he sounds credible. Right. If you believe him, you're still charging him.
Yeah.
Let me think. This is a tough one. I had one guy, because I always pull this, because I think I'm slick bringing this up to that. Like, so if you find him to be credible, will you agree to not charge him? And I always get the inevitable, oh, no, I can't do that kind of thing. And this one guy was like, oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah?
Wait, what you talking about, Willis? He said, absolutely. We didn't end up making a statement in that case, and no charges were filed. But still, I got to give him credit that went against the grain on that one a little bit, right, Rich?
Yeah, I would have been shocked too. I'm like, and I think Mike said in the story, he's like, I said, I'll get back to you. And then what's true is like, I never called that guy again. Was I wouldn't have known what to say. And obviously, I like to talk. I would have been like, ooh, we know how to make Rich be quiet right now. It's just, I didn't see that answer coming.
That's funny.
It's like I was making this argument in court one time, and for this particular issue, I always use the most egregious example of all time out of the case law, and I bring that up to the court, and I say, well, in this case, this is what happened, and the court still found that the elements hadn't been met. Now, obviously, this case, the facts are a little bit different, but certainly the elements haven't been met. And I had a judge basically tell me that the egregious case wasn't that bad and that it's not a good case for me. And I was like, wait a second, what? I can't even say the facts of the case on the air. That's how disgusting and despicable it is. But the judge is like, that's completely different. That's not that.
Not that bad.
Excuse me.
I've
been arguing this case for a lot of years, Your Honor. I've never once had any judge say it wasn't that bad. So I guess we're done here.
When you get one of those guys who are convicted, you definitely hope he's your sentencing judge. Your Honor, you said this case was not that bad.
Right. Well, I think his point was he wasn't ruling my favor no matter what I said. So I think that's what his point was. It's like I could see where this is going. So let's get the show on the road, Your Honor. I guess we're going to trial.
Hint to the judge? Yeah, I've gotten hints from judges. Are you sure you want to say anything else? Not after that, Your Honor. No.
Yeah. I have an attorney that I work with, Mike McCormick out of Pittsburgh. He's like the godfather of 302 expungements, been doing this for decades. And he said that one time a judge told him, "Counselor, you're skating uphill." And now it's my time to shut up. Thank you, Your Honor. We got DG says doctors have meet and greet appointments for a fee to make sure you connect and actually like them and will trust them with your life. Big hint, lawyers. Well, I guess that's similar to what we do with our seminars, but it would be interesting to do a formal meet and greet. We're happy to do so. If you've got any counties in mind, DG, just put it in the comments. And we can let you know if we've got anything coming up over there, or maybe we'll set something up.
I think it runs into, that would be a great idea. I mean, the firm that I work for, we do partners of founded it before they brought me on to do I do a lot of corporate events and meet with and greet with businesses and networking events. It's a little tougher in our area, Mike, because you run into the problem. It won't happen to me.
Right.
Right.
That's
And
true.
that's the situation. I definitely love to meet up with anybody who wants to, it's always good. How many people do you know a lawyer? I said, I don't know about Mike. Mike had his cousin's father. I didn't know any lawyers till I went to law school. So, I mean, that was the first time I ran into him. And most people I don't think do know lawyers. Most people that we run into, never thought they'd have to call one or need one.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, definitely not in the area that we practice. Not anything like that. My cousin's stepfather, he's an attorney.
Yeah.
Completely different area of the law. I wouldn't even be able to have a conversation with him about what he does. So DG says Lehigh, Northampton, Monroe. In parentheses, biggest corrupt county in PA. DG's words, not mine. Good. DG can remain anonymous over there. I can't.
and then poor Mike G's now off YouTube. We'll have to
Yeah, right. Off YouTube and kicked out of court in Monroe County, right?
censored in Monroe County.
You know what we ought to do is maybe in the Lehigh Valley we can get maybe a hotel conference room or something and do Mike G in the Morning live episode on location and allow audience members to show up and do some kind of a Q&A afterwards.
Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Do it.
Would you attend, Rich? Would you attend, Russ? Russ, what do you think, Russ? Like, you're gonna make me
We
wake
gotta
up
get-
now?
Gotta get Russ out of the North Pole.
Russ is
What are
still
you asking
sleeping.
me?
Good to have
We're gonna do. What do you think of a live event where we do an episode from the Lehigh Valley or something like that, so we could have some audience members show up and participate?
And when would we do this?
Yeah. See, that's gonna make me get out now. Hey, didn't you do something for the station in Harrisburg fairly recently?
Yeah, that was the what's it called? The PA Leadership Conference in mid-June that I did that. And we didn't do a live event. I did a bunch of recordings. We had some video cameras and stuff. Not like actual video cameras, just webcams. But it, oh God, I had so much equipment with me.
So
You
it
know,
can
but-
be done. That's all I need
yeah,
to hear.
it
We
can be
volunteered,
done. I
right?
can
We
make it
signed
work.
Russ up, and we're doing it. Rich, I
There we
do
go.
want to ask you a
We'll
few
do
more
it
questions.
live.
Because first of all, Gary just posted a comment. I'm gonna put a pin in that. I want to get back to that. Talk to you a
Yeah.
little bit about. But Rich, you kind of touched on something that you didn't know any attorneys going into law school. What is it that made you have an interest in criminal defense and defending people in the criminal justice system?
I think it's just probably a product of where I came from and the product of that I'd like to defend those who are accused by the government of crimes. I mean, I always point out that, the firm I work for is usually a person against a person, civil litigation, right? These people who are accused of crime literally it says Commonwealth, which is the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the entire state of Pennsylvania against my. So,
Right.
I mean, when it comes to criminal defense, it's really, I ultimately got to be a lawyer to help people, right? That's literally the reason I wanted to be a lawyer. I need to help people who otherwise need that help. And I have been fortunate enough to find a career where I can help people. And most of the time, and I think it goes back to an earlier point, listen, I've defended some real bad guys. I'm not going to lie to you. Every criminal defense has it. But 95% of the people are people having their absolute worst day of their entire life. And helping those people not be defined by for most of them, the worst day they've ever had is something that makes me get up in the morning, go to work every day, work with Mike, come on this station, talk about it. It's important. And I think that's every criminal defense attorney's attitude, because we're not the most liked people in the room. I can tell you that.
Right.
Usually you get how can you possibly defend this person? Well, because if I don't, who else is going to? Because you guys want to find them guilty before they put any piece of evidence up. And that's what my job is here to help him.
Right.
Is he guilty? Is he not guilty? I don't know. Maybe that's for a jury to figure out. But to be able to help people in the criminal defense arena to be able to help families. I do CYS cases. That really tears at my heart, keeping those families together, kids with their parents, with their mother, with their father. Allow the mother and father to really raise their kids the way they think is best
They need you
without
in Cuba right now.
government interference. And in firearms law-abiding gun owners come to us who in most cases have their rights threatened to be taken away, their ability to carry a firearm concealed taken away, and help those people exercise their right, defend themselves against the government, and allow them to raise their children and their families the way they see fit is really why I do this, to be honest.
Didn't you do some modeling too in when you were going to law school?
But just some modeling?
Yeah.
No, I haven't done any modeling.
That's the rumor in the comments apparently.
The comment says he says DG. If you might have noticed, you're talking about something serious on here, and Chris and I start
I know, I'm
smiling
sorry.
at the same exact time.
I need it.
That's right.
Somebody in the comments says, because I asked how did you decide to become a criminal defense attorney, and DG says he got kicked out of fashion school.
Listen, I'm the
my
best
goodness.
dressed attorney in the place. Okay, always.
You do look
are
good.
very well
That's
dressed.
why I said it.
Anybody complains about what I'm wearing, that's the biggest insult you can give me. Next to my son calling my boss.
Now that he knows I'm responsible for ice cream night,
That's
Yeah.
right.
it's all over.
That's true.
It's
awesome.
all over.
For me, honestly, the lawyer thing is just to help people. And I think that's the best joy I get. When I see individuals, the burden lift off their shoulder when we're successful in a criminal case, the family together in a CYS case, an individual has their rights to carry and own firearms given back to them, especially when Mike and I get in. There's nothing better than that.
But
Mhm.
were you aware, as a civilian, so to speak, as non-lawyer, before you went into law school, of the importance of exercising your constitutional rights in interactions with law enforcement officers?
No, I mean somewhat. My father used to say never let him in the house without a warrant.
Okay.
Get a warrant.
All right.
It's probably the thing. I think
Go
my
get a
father
warrant.
at one point had a welcome mat that said "get a warrant." So we never had a police show up. I'm like, Dad, is there something you're gonna tell me? He's like, No,
That's
just
funny.
get a warrant. I don't even want to answer the door.
Maybe that subliminally influenced your career choice in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, to be quiet is something that you try to do. I mean, you don't talk to the police, and then I mean, just where I came from, you didn't ever tell about anything because if I was a tattletale, that's a punishment worse than death.
Don't want to be a snitch.
Right? Yeah, don't snitch. I mean, just don't talk to anybody about anything. That's just the way it was. So not talking to law enforcement, you always respected them and treat them with respect, but don't give them any more information than you need.
Right.
Mhm.
You got to protect your own rights too, right? There's
Sure.
nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and I think those things that you saw on TV are part of the issue. I just want to explain what happened.
That's
Every-
true.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, also, if you ever watch any of these lawyer shows, Law and Order would be about 5 minutes long if these people listened to our advice, right?
No,
Yeah, good
Because
point.
what happens? They always go in, I don't need a lawyer. I'm not guilty, so I can tell everything. And they sit down for like all this time and they spill the beans and they get jammed up somehow.
right. And I mean, I think it even goes because, you know, I always call the Law and Order defense attorneys are the hero of the show. I don't care about Jack McCoy. But what I will tell you is every single show, there's some person accused of a crime in there as I love when they say it's an interview room, which makes me laugh because I go, are we going in there? Are you going to give me a job? No, and every time the defense lawyer walks into the scene, what's the first thing he says? Shut up. Like, I don't know. I mean, even they get that right. Like, stop talking.
They are going to give you a job. You get a nice new orange uniform. And,
You get paid like 6 cents an hour.
you
Free
get some new
meals.
bracelets, right?
But
Take
don't
license
you
plates and
guys
stuff.
think that the police officers do a really, really good job? I forgot what I was watching the other day, but I mean, this guy probably should have known not to say anything, but they really coax you. I mean, they make you feel like they're your friend. They use a lot of
Sure.
tactics. And I understand it's their job to get information, but I mean, unless you're really, really trained on this, you can fall for that. Like,
Mhm.
you know.
I'll give you, this is my famous quote because I can see Mike smiling over here in the corner already. So I said, I have 3 maxims I live by in life. And one of the most important ones is don't mistake somebody being friendly with them being your friend. right? Because police officers are typically in these situations not going to be a jerk, not going to be mean, not going to be yelling and screaming at you like it's an NYPD Blue episode, because who's talking to that guy, right? Or who's talking to that woman? You're screaming in my face. I'm not going to say anything to you. The idea is to be nice. Let me help you. No, you're just helping them. You want some coffee? I mean, it's 2021. If it's the 80s, can I get you a cigarette? Nobody really smokes anymore. So, I mean,
that's what he did on the show. He gave him a cigarette.
Right. Like I'm giving.
It's like Dog the Bounty Hunter, right?
Right. Let me tell you everything now. Thanks for the cigarette.
I'm here to help you. Just tell me what happened. Right. Well, he was really nice and he was friendly, so I told it to him. Well, yeah, he's friendly. That's because he got you to talk. He's not your friend, though.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's where you have to understand that, and that's one of those maxims. Don't mistake somebody being friendly with them being your friend. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. Rich, I want to talk about one more thing.
Shoot.
Well, we got Gary, who brought up a topic I want to talk about, and then he comments again. He says, when I was in college, the police would come to our fraternity door and say, do you mind if we step inside? And I'd say, yes, I mind it very much. No, you cannot come in, fraternity house. Well, that's exercising your rights. We don't consent to any searches, right?
Didn't want them finding your mustard.
Now, he said, Mike, you can join Trump's class action suit for being censored. And you and I have spoken about this offline a little bit as well, coming down to what exactly is the issue with censorship, because there's a couple of different legal theories and possibilities that you can get into with a private company, right? Because we can't forget that, generally speaking, people who believe in freedom and people who are supporters of the Second Amendment want a little bit more of a hands-off approach when it comes to businesses. They want less government intervention, less government intervention with a lot of other areas of our lives. But when it comes to things like freedom of speech, I think a lot of people are mistaken in that they don't realize that the First Amendment generally to protect you from whom, Richard Roberts?
The government.
The government, right? And YouTube or Twitter or all these other places are not the government. The issue becomes, there's two issues. One of them that I've got a particular problem with because of our situation, I'll bring up. And then the second one is something that you've brought up to me. I don't want to cut your knees out from under you, so I'll let you explain it in your own words. But my main problem is the fact that we have followed the rules and are still being punished despite following the rules. There have been cases like this involving the NCAA and homeowners associate. This is very big with homeowners associations. Happens all the time. And what it is a quasi-contractual sort of theory, arbitrary and capricious, meaning if you're going to set these rules, you've got to abide by those rules. You can't lay out the rules and have somebody abide by those rules and just say, yeah, we're just going to kick you off anyway because we don't like you. Mm-hmm. It's not supposed to work like that. So it's really, my primary gripe is really a quasi-contractual sort of theory. And we went through on that episode, we went back, listened to the entire episode. We went through each and every one of their guidelines and talked about how we couldn't have possibly violated any of those guidelines, yet we were taken off, offered no explanation whatsoever. And it wasn't the first time we were taken off. We did win a couple of appeals. Third time, they just said, we had about enough of you. We're taking you down. I mean, the station is down. So, which is
nonsense.
There's got to be some kind of a common understanding. So that would be the first thing that comes to my mind, and might be because I dealt with all those sports law cases throughout law school. I was the TA research assistant for the sports law professor, helped him compile his edition of the case book. He wrote the sports law case book, and that was one of the popular cases we talked about in the legal theory with the quasi-contractual, arbitrary and capricious sort of thing. There's another issue that comes into play where the First Amendment could potentially apply. So, Rich, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Right. Yeah. So, first of all, I think your legal theory is far better. The First Amendment, in order for it to apply, is you have to establish that Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever private company is essentially a government actor or acting as directed by the government. Interestingly, with
Hmm.
this case is Jen Psaki today at her
Yeah,
White
I saw
House
that.
press briefing said we are pointing to posts on Facebook to have flagged for like untruthful. I think they were comments about the COVID vaccine or something like that. I didn't catch it, but I listened to a little bit of it, and that could be a serious problem for Facebook, because if the government, whether it be the office of the president, a local municipality government, the governor of a particular state, is directing a private company to censor particular speech, then because the private company is acting as an arm of the government, they are subject to the First Amendment, and they are subject to First Amendment
Interesting.
protections.
So Rich, that is almost like if you have campus security officers who are deputized with the authority of arrest, is it not? Because then they become subject to these constitutional protections, no?
Right. Because if you go to a private college, for example, and you say, you can't come in and search my dorm. I went to a private college when I went to school. So if the campus security said, I want to come search your room, and I said no, they could just take me out of the room and search the room because they're just campus security. But because the private school at Penn State University, a public university, they are an arm of the government and they need a search warrant or consent to get in a room. But if they're deputized, if the local police says we got to serve an arrest, or we got to, search this room for looking for contraband, we have evidence that one of your students is a drug dealer, and they can't just say get out. We don't need a warrant, because at that point they're acting as an arm of the government.
And so, you could even think of like all kinds of creative Brooklyn type ways that the government would try to get around it if they were allowed to do that. Like, it's just find some guy on the street and be like, hey, we think this guy's got drugs in that garage over there. Could you just sneak in through the window and take a look and let us know if there's drugs in there? That guy's not the guy. We just paid it. We slipped him a couple of bucks and he climbed on in and he found that he's not the government.
That's government interaction, and that's true cases. That's happened where the government says, hey, we don't really know, but I think he has drugs in the garage. Can you go check that out? Yeah, I saw a stack of white powder over there. And then they go get it, and they're like, well, wait a minute. It's not an illegal search. He's a private citizen, right? Might be burglary or trespassing, but he's a private citizen. The court's like, no. If he's working on your lawn, that's not how that works. Right, and that's the situation. If they can establish that Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and the social media companies are acting at the direction of the government or part of the government, then absolutely the First Amendment applies. What I think is more important is Mike's legal argument, and I hate giving him any credit, so don't take it from that.
I know you do.
That's the avenue you would take, because homeowners
You should respect your boss.
Notoriously get in trouble because they won't enforce something, and then all of a sudden a new neighbor moves in and sees everybody's doing something. He does it, they pick on him. The law doesn't allow the homeowners association to do that. If you're going to apply the rules, they have to apply it equally to everybody. And if you don't apply a particular rule for a long time, and then you only apply that particular rule to a certain subset of people, that's a contractual problem.
And there's something that we touched on, not get into totally. If you've got a private company who's completing a traditionally exclusively public function, right?
Right.
Utilities, things of that nature. Because electricity company can't say, we can just deny whoever we want, right? We don't like you.
Right.
You get a New York, let's say you get a New York electricity company, right? Electricity company from the Bronx, and they say, we're not going to provide any electricity to Red Sox fans.
Well, my wife is certainly in favor of that.
There you go, wife would, yeah.
She's like, that's perfectly permissible. But yeah, that's the common carrier exception to a private company being subject to constitutional rights. That's a civil rights case. And if you're the sole game in town, which is the problem that you're going to have, if you're the sole game in town, a traditionally public function, a utility, a bus service, taxis, restaurants, things like that, hotels, for example, that's the Heart of Atlanta motel case. It's a common carrier. You're subject to the same rules and regulations that apply to a government. The issue that the social media companies and those fighting the good fight to fight those social media companies is you can build another Twitter somewhere. There's nobody stopping you from doing it.
Couldn't you build another hotel?
You could, but it's a traditional government. It's not a traditional, it's a common carrier. It's a common space for all travel.
They deleted the Rumble app from the store there.
There's a lot of things that you could, in theory, build your own of, but are not very practical, right?
Correct.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's going to be an issue. Jeremy Miller says, my understanding of this is that the courts probably will not see the social media companies as an arm of the government because they weren't compelled to do things they're doing. They threatened and I would say coerced them, but the argument on the other side is that they didn't have to. Well, if they're directing, then that's certainly evidence that they're doing
Yeah.
something on their
I
behalf.
think Exhibit A is going to be Jen Psaki's press conference from this afternoon.
Right. They may have
Sure.
shot themselves in the foot.
I was
by
surprised
doing
you
it.
said that.
Themselves right in the foot.
Yeah.
Or
I
you might
did
have
catch
shot
that, I think.
Mark Zuckerberg's probably going, you got to be kidding me. I can't believe she just said
Right.
that.
What did Raggedy Ann just say?
Hey, lawyer up and shut up, lady.
Doing? I mean, it's going to be a tough case to make under the First Amendment, either from a common carrier or as an arm of the government. I think the best way to attack and get into those social media companies is to go through their terms of service and see they're selectively taking people out, even though they haven't violated the terms of service because of what they said.
Now, Rich, you took a look at this case before I did. Do you think that they adequately pleaded that type of an argument, or not so in this case?
I don't think so. No, I don't
Okay.
think they adequately pleaded that argument. I think they went, and I think that they tried to demonstrate that in this particular case, that Twitter and Facebook were an arm of the government. And I just think that the tenuousness of those arguments is tenuous at best. I don't know if you're going to be able to muster up any sort of evidence to demonstrate that. Although, again, I go back to this afternoon, maybe you get something at that point. I mean, because the idea in these cases really is to get past the motion to dismiss stage. You want to get to discovery.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, they get to discuss. That's probably where the value in this case
The value in
is,
this
right?
case
They show, oh my God, look what they did. Yeah.
Right.
I think.
You get the communications, you get the emails, you can show coordination because but you have to be able to well, Mike knows in civil litigation, you have to be able to demonstrate enough, assuming what you say, that you would have a case, right? Enough facts that you know or have affidavits for that you can get past that. Because that's where all the cases are fought. Because as soon as they get to discovery, these cases settle in about 10 seconds because the companies don't want to give up what's inside. How much do you want? Oh, okay. Let me see if I can write that check. How many zeros? Yeah. Because discovery is where the action's at. Because that's where all the internal stuff that they don't want to let out.
Yeah, motion to dismiss. That's almost, and the courts have stretched that a little bit over the years. I think some case law is a little funky looking at it, but it's really the standards. Even if everything they said is true, they don't have a cause of action. They don't. Even if everything they said is true, they still can't win. They don't have a cause of action. It's almost like a habeas in a criminal context.
No, it's the same thing.
You're
Take
saying
everything is true. If this is all true, are they entitled to a verdict in their favor? And if the answer is yes, then it moves on. If the answer is no, then it should be dismissed. And but and then they have then summary judgment they talk about, but that's after discovery, and they're not going to want.
Right. That's a little bit different. Now, if you look at this from a political standpoint, if you're talking about Trump's base, this is a win-win and not a win-win-win, a win-win double win if they get to the discovery stage. If you ask me, the reason is, if he wins, then it's great. He could tout that all around. If he loses, it becomes, look at what they're still holding us down, and you become in that position, and it just fires everybody up more. Everybody gets frustrated with the fact that the censorship continues, and that's just going to fire up the base even more.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm not as much. I don't see it.
Whether it be from the government, which is absolutely not allowed, or tech companies, or newspapers, or television, or any of those things. I think I'm a big believer in the First Amendment right to free speech, and the response to free speech is not less speech, but more. If you disagree with what somebody says, disagree with it and say why you disagree with it and why this person is wrong, and then that person can respond to you. And that's really the way the country should function. You don't just, I don't like what he says, so we're going to cut him off. Well, what's wrong with what he said? Well, it's terrible. Well, why is it terrible? But, people have come to the point in society where they don't want to hear something they don't agree with, and that's a problem. Because there's lots they don't agree with from lots of people, and I try to surround myself with people I agree with and people I don't agree with, whether it be politically, legally, business-wise, because I think hearing both sides is usually where you get your best answer.
Right. Gives you some balance too. It's good to get checked sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Because you don't find yourself going way off the deep end. They're like, hold on,
Right.
do you hear what you just said?
And
if
that's
you don't
what these social media platforms are doing with
Right.
their algorithms. They're just feeding,
Echo
individuals echo chamber. Yeah.
you get
You
in
know,
an
there. Go ahead, Rich.
No, I said you get in an echo chamber, and it's good to be surrounded. And I don't think enough people are surrounded by people who disagree with them. And I mean, not
Right.
to the point where they hate, but you have to be able to disagree respectfully, which again, I
Sure.
think is lost in society today because all we end up with is name calling. And I mean,
right.
in the old, as my father used to say, we can agree to disagree and then move on. And
Yeah,
then,
you used to be able to. Now you can't. Yeah.
now you
Yeah.
can't, because if the person disagrees with you, they're evil. Maybe they just have a different.
up. You're wrong.
Yeah.
Shut
Right.
up. I don't
You're
want
not
to hear
wrong.
it.
And
They-
then
They're not evil. They're mustard-eating knuckleheads.
Just start screaming. Remember that girl screaming?
Right, and then the problem is that you don't get any new or better ideas, because usually when people are talking to each other, that's when the best ideas come forth, and you think of things you didn't think about before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. It's unfortunate to see it happening here because it's the
We-
fabric of our society, our country. Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you want to know what the other side is claiming, true or false,
Yeah.
good idea or bad idea?
Sure.
Because doesn't that help you reason through things objectively and determine whether or not you've got the correct approach on
Mhm.
something?
Orange man.
For
bad.
example, I mean, I've got alerts that I get for different topics, and many of them, the search terms are the names of gun control groups. I want to see what they're up to. I want to see what they're saying. A lot of times I'll be able to catch them in lies and misinformation, but I want to see what is out there. I don't want to bury my head in the sand and only hear from people on my side. That doesn't make for a very sharp individual, does it?
No.
No, I don't
And
think
thank
so.
goodness for all the fact checking. We have all the fact checkers to make sure everything's legit.
Yeah. Well, I just look at it from a standpoint. How do you counter an argument if you don't know what the argument is?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's when
and
they
I
just start
think that-
screaming and they run away.
Right. They scream and go, I don't want to hear your side. Well, then I don't, if you can't have a reasoned debate, everything you say, I just don't want to hear, because it's not intellectually honest. Because
Is it okay if you have a reasoned debate and make a cogent point, and then at the end add, "You mustard-eating knucklehead"? Is that okay, Rich?
But
There
I
we
think
go.
the way it
That'll
works,
settle.
Mike and I work well in the cases we work well together, because Mike will take a position and I will question every single thing he does. Not in the same room, because I know Mike is a law-abiding gun owner, and I don't know how upset he gets. I don't know how that's going to go. So he's like, "You want me to come to your office, Rich?" No, I'm going to disagree with you. But no, then Mike does the same thing to me. We're prepping for a case. I'm like, your job is to disagree with every single thing I say and why it's a problem, because that's what the other side's going to do. And if we don't have a response to it, the judge is going to go, "What do you say about that?"
Mm.
Well, I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is he wrong? I don't know. That in real life, you saying, "Well, I'm right," is not. That's like what a 5-year-old does.
That's right.
Right?
Right.
My 5-year-old says, "Well, because."
Because,
Right. Because.
That would be so funny in court.
Because, Your Honor.
because
Because, Your Honor.
Because
I will tell you, I wasn't prepared for the judge to say that one case wasn't that big of a deal, basically. But I don't
Yeah.
think that even you and I talking through that, Rich, you would have come up with
I
that
wouldn't.
potential. Because if you had, I would have been like, "Come on, bro, let's be serious.
Right.
I got a case to prepare for over here."
Stop joking around.
I was in front of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court arguing a case. Justices of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, and I was arguing about a constitutional issue. Maximum punishment can only be increased. And the one Justice Wack, asked me, "What's your source of law on that?" And I went, "Well, the Constitution, Your Honor." And he said, No, I get that, but what's your source of law? I go,
Is there a more important source? Or
"Wait, what?" I was like, "The Constitution, Your Honor." I was like, "I know you said that twice, but what's your source?" I think he was looking for a case citation or something, but I was like, it's the Constitution.
the law of the land, Your Honor.
I'm sitting here going, Oh, this is so bad. I'm in front. This is like the pinnacle of the career. You're in front of the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. And then the worst is they put all those arguments on C-SPAN, and I had to watch it later. I'm like, see my face, like, what are you talking about? I like turn
I need a
around.
clip of that now.
My boss
Yeah, we got to make a TikTok video or something of Rich.
Right.
You're going to become a meme now, Rich.
The Constitution, Your Honor.
I said, the Constitution, Your Honor, I get it, but what's your source of law? And I was like, you like flip through where you don't have any notes to answer the question, but I'm busy. I think it's just the Constitution, Your Honor.
It's just that still applies, right?
I think we got his point. Let's ask him the next question. I'm like, thank you for saying me, because I don't know how I was going to dig my way out of that one.
Does the Constitution still apply? I mean, I've not looked on the Constitution a couple of days on Westlaw, but I don't remember seeing any of those red flags next to it, right? And that's something only a lawyer would understand. So we got to explain it to everybody else. I said, I like your laughing reaction. Knows that it was a good one.
Everybody's like, I don't get the red flags.
Yeah, what is that? I don't know. Yeah.
When you're looking,
is that like Jersey, like a red flag law?
No, when you're dealing with legal research on the computer, when you're looking at Westlaw. In the old days, they used to have those books that you see in lawyers' offices that are now mostly for decoration. Rich and I have not really used those throughout our career because everything's on the internet. But when you're looking at a case, there will be some kind of a warning as to whether there are other cases that have since either disagreed with them or overruled them. There'll be
like
a yellow flag.
Like it might be outdated case law kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. It might have been overturned. If it's red, that means that it's been overturned, or they'll show that something's been repealed or something like that. But so when I say I don't remember seeing any red flags on the Constitution, that's bad law. That's overturned.
If we would have prepped for that, that would have been a great answer, by the way. I didn't, Your Honor, I looked at it. I didn't see any red flags. I think the Constitution still applies. And then, there's in the room, everybody laughs because that's a great joke. Because Mike and I are cracking up. I'm like, that's a great joke. Everybody else like, I don't get the red flag thing.
I don't get the red flag thing.
There goes all the listeners right there. We're done.
Now, if you would have said that in the Supreme Court, though, that would have been one of those moments where you ever see those videos where the sunglasses drop down and the joint goes into the guy's mouth.
We have to do that. Russ, can you make that happen?
Thug Life, right? The Thug Life videos. DG says, what did we do before these one-sided platforms? We had real face-to-face conversations and weren't looking down at our phones all day. We lost that human connection. That's a very real point, and more so in the midst of COVID, obviously, how many things we're doing virtually. I mean, we're not sitting in the same room right now doing this radio program.
Yes, we are.
More out of necessity.
I don't know. These questions we usually defer to Philly Chris because he was back then before the phones.
Yes. Well, I was in the Senate 120 years, Liberty. So.
Back with the phone. That's true though. There is certainly less interaction even before coronavirus though. And this is something that people are more focused in on their phones, even if they are in the same room at the same time in the same place. Right. A lot of people are still staring down at their phones and not interacting the way.
No, I noticed a huge change. Yeah.
Yeah,
and some of these
people
younger
are angry.
folks don't. What's that, Liberty?
No, go ahead. Finish yours.
No, I was just saying you can even see, for myself anyway, and I see the younger generations on their phones so much, and their social skills are even different. Yeah. The way they interact with you.
Yeah, their social skills, and people are fired up all the time because they're hiding behind their devices, and all you're going from one app to the next. Mm-hmm. And each app has different problems that it causes for the young generation. Like whether it's Instagram and kind of like you're missing out on things, or people have it better, and then you go to Twitter and you get fired up from all the bad news. It's just I don't know how they're surviving in this generation.
They're not.
I just want to point out from the technology standpoint that people need to learn how to spell that U is not just U, it's Y-O-U.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that distracts me. I'm going,
Yeah, there's a lot
everything's
of
abbreviated now, and there's like no grammar. Grammar's gone.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is a generational thing. Everybody here, please feel free to weigh in, including Russ. But it almost seems as if, from my generation, when you're looking at the conversations that you have with people, whether it's by text message, it's almost like if they use correct punctuation, it comes off as being rude or snippy. If I see somebody who writes like a short sentence with a period at the end, it's like, oh, geez, what did I do?
Oh, really?
Or you don't
Yeah,
want
okay.
people-
What's
or if you
this
don't
guy
Like
use
it's
an
too
emoji.
formal or something, like too formal almost.
Mike, I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
if you
just
don't
something
use an
with you.
emoji too, that's the thing I've heard people say. Like they didn't use an emoji, they must be
didn't
mad at
use
me.
an emoji.
When I put a
How
big
weird.
exclamation point in my text message to Mike tomorrow morning about a case, he's going to know it's Tom Means Business.
There you go. Right. LMAO.
Do you guys?
Oh,
I have a
yeah.
question. Do you guys see like an increase of work? I guess you can't really say you have to do a study, but any kind of like worst cases because of the generation, or do you think it's just more of the environment you're raised in, like specifically
What do you
Rich,
mean?
like working in criminal law? Like you probably work with some of the baddest dudes, and do you think that a lot of it was passed down, because something happened to them bad in their life, or do you see any result from technology? Like, I guess it's nature versus nurture type of question.
I think people are more insulated and they don't know how to deal with aggressive individuals. They don't know how to get out of situations. They've never really been confronted, and at that point they make several mistakes, right? Because I think on this a couple weeks ago, where he said people have never been punched in the face before. I mean,
yeah, they never punched in the face
The
syndrome.
thing that I say is, my father, I keep bringing up my dad, but he said a punch in the face builds character, right? Because
True
one
that.
thing I do notice about people, maybe in the criminal defense booth, is people say the craziest stuff now. And I look around like, you definitely lived on your phone, because if I was younger, you wouldn't dream of saying it to somebody you didn't know, because you have to pick your teeth up off the ground, right?
Yeah.
So I think that
That's
there's
true.
a difference with the younger generation. I don't know if it's bolder, it's just not really know the difference between.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, what if everybody had to say that stuff on it? Right. Some
Right.
stuff
That's
didn't
right.
get said because of that.
Because
It's,
You were like,
yeah.
I don't know if I really want a black eye at school on Monday. I don't think I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think that's important. Not that violence is the answer to anything, but I think I see a lot of that assault cases and things like that, that there's an older part of it gets confronted by someone from a younger generation who says something completely off the wall. And it's what I consider a natural reaction. And I got a lot of juvenile cases I do in the same thing. And now it's not like, well, maybe you shouldn't have said that. And, what'd you learn? Give the kid detention. Now, the cops have to show up. You have to go through your situation. You're arrested. The parents are calling me. It's a tough scenario. And I think that's why I think bullying becomes a good problem, because these kids don't stand up for each other.
Yeah. And then somebody stands up for the bully, they end up getting in trouble too.
Correct.
I've had cases like that. I had a case a few years ago, Rich, where this older gentleman was interacting with this millennial type guy, and the millennial type guy was saying all kinds of things that were out of line, just really pushing his buttons, and he shouldn't have been doing that. And the older guy ends up allegedly assaulting him. And the argument in court was basically, Your Honor, come on, he deserved it. He was asking for it. And the judge gave a not guilty. Basically convinced the judge that the guy deserved it.
You got to know your audience on that one. If you get
There's not too many judges out there who would buy that, though.
Especially now, yeah.
know your audience, because I see an older judge. There's a judge in Lehigh County, I won't call him out in the air, who that argument would work with 100 times out of 100. Because he's an old school, judge. He's just like, the last time I was there, he was doing a sentencing on a shop owner sold a bottle of liquor or a couple bottles of liquor to undercover state troopers, right? First thing I thought of is, what did that state trooper do to get that gig? What did you do to get punished? I got to go see if somebody's selling liquor illegally. So he got pleaded guilty, he's a small shop owner. It's in downtown Allentown. And the judge gets the sentence. He's like, what's the sentence? He's like, $300 per ounce. We got to fine him. He's like, a $300 fine. He's like, no, $300 per ounce. He's like, per ounce. He's like, and then he gets to the thing. He's like, nah, $100. He's like, Your Honor, I don't think I could do that. And I goes, are you going to appeal this? No, $100. Bye. The thing he was concerned about is whatever he sold Retail value is like $65, and he sold it at his establishment for like $180, and he was astounded that people would pay that much. I could go out there. Who pays that? They should be in here.
Yeah.
He's a very old school judge. Is one of the best judges I've ever been in front of. And yeah, he would. That argument that you made would absolutely. He's like, young man, let me tell you something. You don't say those things. That's
DG says about the social media stuff. Not if you take control of your kids' electronics, we pay for. There's a video. I thought of Russ when I saw this. We may have sent it to him. I forget who sent the video. It might have been Liberty.
I probably didn't watch it.
But it was. Yeah, I'm sure you didn't.
I don't click on the links
I
you
would bet
guys
money
send
that
me.
you didn't watch it. But it was a guy who was running over his kid's video game system, with the video games at the lawnmower, and the kid absolutely freaking out, losing his mind. Yeah, that reminds me of DG's comment over there. I was watching that. I was like, "This is totally my dad." If they had lawnmowers in Brooklyn,
Yeah, well, I
in
saw the
apartments
comments.
with no lawn.
The comments on TikTok
You got a
were
license for
split
that
in
lawn?
the middle. Like based on the app, you can see the comments are different. You know, TikTok's a little bit younger. I mean,
I'm sure that there are people saying
They
that
were
that's child
really
abuse,
defending
right? There are
the
people out
kid.
there
Sure, yeah,
probably
child abuse.
saying this kid not
Toxic
having a job.
parenting.
Hold on.
Yeah.
There are certainly people in the comments, I would bet money on it, that saying that this kid having sat around all summer without a job, playing video games on his dad's dime, and not listening to him, not obeying his father by going out there and looking for work, and then having his father destroy the things that he paid for. There are certainly people who called that child abuse. Were there not, Liberty?
Yeah, those people are called morons.
Well, yeah, it's actually the new lingo is like toxic parenting.
Of
Toxic.
course,
Gotcha.
of course.
Okay.
Otherwise
I
known
don't know
as
how being a
correct
parent
parenting.
became toxic parenting.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like you
Well,
gotta
Rich, you're
listen.
going to end up in court defending a parent who does something like that.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Yeah,
Wasn't there was
absolutely.
also a video of a dad who shot his daughter's laptop. You remember,
remember that.
That
I
went
do remember
viral. That
that.
was on the news a long time
Well, that's a
ago.
bad
Ouch.
idea.
That would probably be a bad idea.
Is that
toxic.
against the law to shoot an innocent unarmed laptop?
Unless you take her to an NRA approved range and you
Right.
get approved in advance. And,
It depends on where the daughter was at the time the shots were fired.
right.
Yeah, no, daughter was nowhere near the laptop.
Oh,
I
then
had
I
no
got
idea who
Yeah, it
was
was the
taking the
middle of an
video.
Right,
open field.
FaceTiming on the laptop,
That might not be good. What's your daughter's face?
Right.
That's not a good
That's
thing.
right.
No,
But
it was
Rich,
it was on
could
the
you see,
it was
see
on the
yourself
ground.
ending up in court defending somebody who did something like that?
Unfortunately, it's the way children and youth operate sometimes is that they feel that the kids are right and discipline's a problem. And first thing I'm going to say is there's absolutely child abuse cases. There are parents that abuse and kill their children to no end. But I think discipline is discipline. And I think that the situation where the father runs the laptop over the game system with the lawnmower because he wouldn't get off his rear end to go get a job is exactly appropriate. Right?
Yep.
Because
Maybe if he was mowing the lawn every week, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, I didn't see it there past the tall grass you were supposed to mow.
Right.
Right, and I think that's important, and I think that it's something that kids being spoiled because their parents don't want to say no, and I think no is a big deal. I think that putting limits on what your kids can and can't do is appropriate, and I think you have to do that.
Yeah.
DG
And a lot
says
of
using my
parenting there.
electricity to charge their phones and games controllers when kids pay the electric bill, then complain. I like it.
You know what? When I was younger, my mom used to take because I bought the phone. She used to take
You're still
the
younger, by the way.
battery. She used to take the battery away from me, so I couldn't use
wow.
it. I used to just
Oh.
plug it into the wall.
Just plug it
Still
into
worked.
a wall without a
Still
battery.
worked. Yeah.
There you go.
Back
Smart,
when you could
yeah.
actually remove batteries. Yeah.
Right.
So,
I did
legendary
want
phone,
Russ's
LG
reaction on
Octane.
that video, though. The one person who didn't watch it, because Russ is into technology and video games.
Russ will be crying.
Pull it up
while
and
you
play
watch
it now.
But
Russ.
No,
yeah,
I
the only
think the
argument I say,
punishment
well, I
fits
mean,
the
I think
crime.
you have to do what you have to do, but there are some kids in this generation who doing technology, and that really does get them an awesome career. So you have to balance it.
Yeah, I guess so, but you got to learn some kind of discipline.
Have to
It's
teach
almost
them. Yeah.
with something like that. I'm gonna have a career in video games. It's almost like I'm gonna have a career in some other form of entertainment or athletics. Does it happen? Sure. And those people are incredibly blessed to be doing what they love to do. But growing up, there's probably got to be some level of discipline that I'm going to do some things that I don't necessarily want to do. I'm allowed to continue to pursue my dream and put the necessary time into this, but you got to learn to do things you don't want to do sometimes. Unfortunately, nobody likes it, right?
Yeah,
Nobody likes it, but it can't just be okay, because this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to spend every single waking hour. Even Rich, you were a college athlete. I was a college athlete. And, we couldn't spend 100% of our time playing the sport that we love. We had to devote adequate time to our schoolwork and everything like that. And to have that option,
No, I
Who's
think
playing
so.
stuff?
I think that's important.
Thanks, Philly Chris. You're gonna get a copyright claim because of you. How do I just shut up Mike or Chris?
I don't know if I can hear it.
Let's see. Remove from call. That sounds like a good option.
Let's have
Are you done?
And somebody stopped by with a little music there.
So did somebody
what's
make
the case
that?
law? I think it said.
Did somebody make that
What's-
for the program, or that's?
I think
already
so.
exist?
I'm not sure. Did you make that, or is that? He just made it for the show.
Just made it. That's amazing.
Nice.
That's amazing. We got to post that.
We need a copy of that. Yeah, we need
The
a copy.
case law song.
Put it up in the Google Drive.
We need a Justice Brothers jingle. A Justice
Oh,
Brothers.
no.
That's right. There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. What's the case
Like
law? There you
that.
go. I'll get a
Sean
copy. sent
says,
over.
Durso says you need to instill the fear of dad in them at an early age. I like that. And DG says just say no. KPK Crypto says because they weren't Bolsheviks then, these people are. Well, and you're
Nice.
talking about. Go ahead.
I think in a world of technology where everything is so interconnected, you can't just say no. And the reason behind that is because it's a terrible thing to point out, because when somebody goes to school at a young age and everyone and their dog has a phone, iPhone, Android, whichever, no name brand, your kid's going to feel like an outcast if you don't get them a phone. And they're going to be socially outcast. They're going to be, not included in things because, oh, you don't have a phone. And it's a sad reality because, oh, yeah, everyone has a phone. Well, if everyone jumped off a bridge, yeah, that excuse doesn't even work anymore. You might get pushed by the people who have the cell phone to actually jump over the bridge. But, because everything is so connected. So, all your friends are in a group chat, let's say, but you don't have a phone, you're not going to be included in stuff. Oh, we went ice skating this weekend. Well, why didn't anybody call me? Nobody calls anybody. We were in a texting group chat. You don't have a phone.
It's some sort
you
of
miss
peer
out.
pressure in a way you're saying, Russ. I
Yeah,
guess.
it's a peer pressure.
Yeah.
And
like when I was a
then,
kid,
and then that
you
peer
didn't
pressure
have
gets
the
pushed onto
cool
the parents
version.
to, hey, can I have a phone? Can I have a phone?
Yeah.
And it's just a sad reality. You can't just now when it comes to something like a video game console, that's a different story. But a phone is such a universal device that I don't think you could just say no to that. You could definitely have restrictions.
I think you could.
Okay, well,
I think you could.
Let's
Like
try
Larry
it.
David.
No,
DG
you're
says
not
not
old
every
enough.
kid has
Yeah.
that luxury. Some kids live in poverty. Tough. That's true too.
But I think the
everyone
problem is what
everyone
Russ
who
was
lives in
saying there, too,
poverty
is some
can
kids are,
miraculously afford
almost bullies
a
about it.
phone.
No, well, yeah, I guess so. So are you compounding the problem? So we're gonna give in to the bullies. We're gonna let them run the world. Okay, I'm
That
not gonna
seems to be
discipline my
happening
kid.
now.
I'm not gonna discipline my kid because the bullies will give them a hard time if I discipline the kid.
No,
So
it's also
Right,
not
right,
about
right.
discipline entirely, because that's just something. Who's sending message? Oh,
Rich Roberts says that.
Yeah. Just
Popped
remember,
up on
any
the
message you
screen.
send in
Just get
in
out of
the
here. Just pop in and say it. Listen, little Richard
What
Deaton's
happens when
like,
you
He's
stay
had
away from
enough.
technology?
He was
He's had enough.
I was using the technology. I got yelled.
the technology.
Okay,
He was
guys,
making-
Flashed
anything
across
you
the screen
send
and said
in the
to say it.
Skype
Hold on,
chat
hold on,
is
hold on. Take a break
broadcasted.
in the action. They take a break in the action. It just popped up on the YouTube because it's
I
a
did
little
not
bit of a
see
delay. You see it.
I saw it now.
All right, Richard. Please.
Oh, Chris, why? Well, okay, so back to what I was saying. You can use it as something to hold over their head. You can use it as
I
a
didn't
point
know
of
it popped up.
punishment.
No, I've done that before.
Oh,
Thank goodness that was
guys.
all you said.
You
I was trying
guys.
to do it on the flow. There we go. All right. Well, live
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No, it's good.
No.
No, no.
Oh,
All right,
man.
guys.
Good stuff.
Let me get
All right, Rich.
All right.
Any parting words for the audience?
No, hope to see you guys again soon. And if you do that live event, love to be invited. I would definitely come up to meet everybody. I think that's a spectacularly good idea.
Perfect. Now we can start the real show. Rich doesn't know the tinfoil hat stuff that we talk about as soon as he leaves. Now the mature audience is only from here on out.
We should ask him. You've been following the UFO stuff, Rich? You've been following the UFO stuff at all?
No,
You seen any of that in the news?
Yeah,
Okay.
nah, he's good.
All right, yeah.
I will ask you this though. Go ahead.
He's a little
get
tied
going.
up doing lawyer stuff. Yeah.
Go ahead. Get going. Tell little Richard that your boss says hi.
See you guys. Have a good weekend.
All right.
Peace.
Take care.
Peace and love.
Bye.
For those of us just tuning in, you're listening to Mike G in the Morning with The Law Matters, only on the Freedom Station, WFYL. So let's, Russ, were you saying something that we got cut off there? Because we got the comments rolling through like a freight train at this point.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, they are rolling through like a freight train.
They like this topic.
so
They have a lot to say.
I don't think they think they're fans. I don't think they're fans of Russ's positions. Let's say.
Well, okay, hang on. Can I finish my thought before
ahead.
everyone in the
Finish your
chat
thought.
starts to line up to punch me? Chris, get out of here.
Oh.
You can use it as
Proceed.
as a leverage point as far as disciplining your child. Like, you know, hey, in the case of mowing the lawn or whatever, mow the lawn or you don't get your phone today. And
Right.
or you don't get your phone until you mow the lawn. It worked when I was in high school. My mom would tell us that, you know, chores would earn us so many hours of video game time, and I ended up doing my chores and my brother's chores and getting all the video game time, and he kind of just, I don't know what exactly he did in his free time, but you know, I was the one playing video games, and I guess he was there watching. And so yeah, and it got the chores done.
Here we go. This is from DG. Deal with it. Life is tough. Get over it. We created a bunch of entitled Me First and All About Me. Dave Cressman says getting
Okay,
trophies
well,
participation.
I've
is-
concluded DG is an old fart, so let's just
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Hold on a minute.
smelly windbag.
Listen,
full of
I
mustard.
guess I'll wear that badge with honor as well. I'll wear
Hold
that
on a
badge
minute
with honor
there,
because I
Russ.
gotta
Chris is
wear
the
it.
originator of the
He doesn't
of the old
talk.
I'm
fart.
the oldest one on the show, Russ. You better be a nice young boy. I'll take your phone away.
I don't think they should
That's
have
it.
their phone taken away.
Oh, no.
Okay,
My,
so
my dad never hit me, but my mother sure did. She broke a few wooden spoons on my bottom.
Randy says, in my day, you weren't cool if you didn't have kangaroo sneakers with the little zipper pocket on the side.
That's right. That's right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, too bad, right?
Yeah.
Probably worth
DG
some
says,
money
really,
now.
did you ever hand out a meal in a soup kitchen in the heart of Allentown to kids? I
No,
don't
I
know
didn't
if
grow
that's
up in
direct. I
Allentown.
think that's probably directed towards Russ for his.
Well, I
his
didn't
comment.
grow up in Allentown, so
Right.
no.
So you know, I have not. I have in Brooklyn on numerous occasions. I will say this, DG, if you have a particular soup kitchen in Allentown in mind, then we would be happy to donate our time and go over there and do something. And I'm going to
do
go
it.
ahead and volunteer Russ to join us
Absolutely.
and hand out soup in that
Hey,
kitchen.
Mike, you
Absolutely.
remember when we were talking about punching people in the mouth and having them pick up their teeth?
Hey,
It's consider
next year,
this an
MMA fight
invitation.
between Mike and Russ.
I am only 50, but
Russ is such an evil
I'm
human
with
being
one hand
that if I
tied behind my
donate,
back.
if I volunteer him for time at a charity handing out soup, he's
Oh
gonna
no, we got some
inflict
fighting
physical
words.
violence
DG
upon.
DG has responded to Russ. Ding
Oh,
ding
yeah?
ding.
What do we got?
He said, "I am
I like
only
that. That's pretty
50. I am only 50, but could pull your hair with one hand tied behind my back."
Joke's on you, I got a haircut.
Oh no.
So here,
We got to
here.
set this up. Set up an
RPK
event,
Crypto
live
says
event.
I couldn't do that because I only have one hand. LOL.
Oh. This comment.
DG says respect your elders, smart mouth. Here's what we got to do: is we got to find out. We got to get DG on the program.
Yes, we
Well,
do.
well, hang on. I got a point of
No,
not-
DG. How do we get DG on the program?
No
Is there any
idea.
way we get DG on the
But-
line?
but
Somebody
it-
have the Mike G in the morning email
God's
up.
sake.
If DG writes in, if DG writes in on MikeGinthemorning.com, will we get them on the program?
I
You
gotta
have to.
check.
Gotta do it.
I can't tell.
You mean now?
I'm
or in
going
the
to Mike
future?
G in the morning.
DG.
Okay,
You mean
I am
right
I am
now?
monitoring the Mike G in the morning email DG. If you go
Mhm.
onto MikeGinthemorning.com and scroll down to contact us, you can give us your information if you'd like to come on live.
Let's get DG on the show. That would be great.
Come on, DG.
No, so
Didn't get
I
want
enough
to
smacks
go
upside
back
his
to this
head and
comment.
pulled on his mommy's.
I want to go
Well,
back to this
funny.
comment
I
where
don't know. I'm
DG
somewhere
said
in
respect
between
your
on this one.
elders. I don't
I'm
owe
somewhere
someone
between.
respect just because
DG,
they're older
Russ,
than me.
Russ has never been punched in the face syndrome. You got-
That's a new
Guys, but we
syndrome.
need
I
people
like
like
that.
Russ to be running the stuff that we don't know how. So I
Mhm.
feel like some parents like mute their kids because that's not what they agree with or can understand. So like you have to teach them discipline and you have to teach them to do the right thing. But we need people like Russ and there's people out there who have these minds that just don't like things other kids like. And most parents from the generation don't like it. I know my mom personally was like, be a nurse or this. Like she knew certain jobs. She didn't know what public relations was. You know what I mean? So it's just different generations. And but yeah, you have to teach discipline for sure. But I think that if you take somebody like Russ with a technical mind and you force him to do something that he really is not interested in, that could cause more damage than good.
Mm. Like going to the soup kitchen.
yeah, right. Oh, I got PTSD from going to volunteer at the homeless shelter.
Oh, the
I
soup
could
was
feed
so
all these
hot.
people.
Operating in his natural gift.
All
from
these
God.
hungry people wouldn't leave me alone.
I had to sweep the floor and I
Oh,
got a
wow,
straw
look at
stuck in my
DJ
foot.
is so funny. Okay, DJ said, after I clean my cane, I will think about it.
I know. I started laughing. I didn't want to interrupt, but I saw that and.
Oh,
DG,
hilarious.
we still have time. Can you write in? We want you on the program.
Says ask Rich. So I've got a.
If
I've got
DG
a
can
text
even
message
use a
out to Rich.
computer.
If Rich does
there
get
we
me
go.
the number, we will be contacting DG.
Mhm.
KBK
Oh.
Crypto. Did your dad fold the belt and yank it in two different directions to make that cracking sound? Mine did.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Mhm.
But Randy says my father never laid a hand on me, but the scariest sound in my house was a belt clearing belt loops. Oh goodness. Oh
That's
goodness.
funny. Mm.
But yeah, there's not a lot of. My kids never needed to be hit. We taught them respect from early.
That
Well,
sounds like
that's it.
it sounds like DG is probably from the South then, because that's something that my grandfather taught my mom.
What
Mm.
respect? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
that's a trait that's reserved to the South, right?
Well,
No, only
no,
Southern
that's-
house.
that's
only
not-
good Southern households.
That's
learn
not what I was
respect.
saying, but all right.
Right.
That's not what he was saying.
What was he saying?
That's
He
not
was
what I
saying
was
it just sounds like something that you don't hear in this day and age.
It's
I think. I
something-
mean, that's kind of what I was.
It's
like
something
you
that's
don't
not
hear
very
up here.
common up north.
What?
Hitting, you
What,
mean?
that they never had to be hit?
No, that's not
I
what
don't know
I'm
exactly
saying.
how to say it, but I mean, if you want my explanation, it's kind of long-winded. But I don't know. I could relate it to. So I saw this guy on TikTok who goes around saying, "Is Jesus king?" He goes around in Target. He goes around all these things, and most of the people in his videos are yes. If I took that same video and I went in a city in the East Coast, I'm just, gonna say it. Most South.
you.
Yeah, and so the comments are like, you must be in the South. So I don't know if this is like, this is how my mind works, but I was just thinking he was saying certain things are taught a little bit more in the South sometimes, and I think it's like respect and things like that. Sometimes I don't know. It's like more of a Christian.
There's differences, demographically.
I
there
think-
are differences.
Chris, the respect is only taught in households in the South and in one-bedroom apartments in
Mike.
Brooklyn, New York. That's it. That's it.
Mike.
Right, that's right. That's
The-
right.
That's
well,
the only two ways
guys,
to learn
that's not
respect.
what I was
Those are the
getting at.
facts. Yeah.
That's not what I was getting
Well, then
at.
what were you saying?
When I think of respect, I think of any kind of interaction with between a child and an adult, where the child addresses the adult as either sir or ma'am,
Yeah,
and
that's the South,
is
yeah.
very
I
respectful.
don't think that's the
in-
extent of respect, though. I think respect goes a lot further than sir or
Well,
ma'am.
that-
I will say this.
listen,
I mean,
I'm
that's a
from
lot
the East
more
Coast, and I could
respectful
say
than
it
saying,
straight up
"Hey,
that
yo."
the South, some values are taught down there that I don't know, that
when
are
I,
less.
when I
taught
went
up.
out to Oklahoma, everything was yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. And
Exactly.
grew accustomed to it very quickly because you don't
Mhm.
want to be rude, want to be polite and respectful. And when
See,
I
there you
came
go.
home to visit for a couple of weeks, I would be in a restaurant and say something like yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. And you're in Staten Island, New York. It would be something along the lines of, ma'am, what do I look like? I'm old or something? Imagine calling,
Polite.
just call a Staten Island lady, some kind of Staten Island lady, ma'am. Absolutely
Right.
flip out. It's like, I was
Yeah.
trying to be polite. I meant no disrespect by it. No
Yeah, it's funny
disrespect.
how it's different.
Somebody
different
told me
areas,
that
yeah.
out in Oklahoma or the South that it's like more passive aggressive. So like they won't say what they're really thinking. Like they'll be polite to your face, but then say something behind your back.
Mm.
Whereas in New York, they will just tell it like it is. That was how they described it. I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense a little bit.
There's definitely less common courtesy on the East Coast than there is in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that was Russ.
There's pros and cons to each one of them. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it. It's not
absolutely.
that one way is necessarily better than the other.
There's a
all
question
around.
for Russ in the chat there, Russ. There's a question.
Yeah, I know.
How many kids do you have, Russ?
I don't have any, but I helped raise 5 younger siblings.
Oh,
Well,
okay. There you go.
that's
So
important.
it's not like I'm new
And
to any of this.
they're all addicted to video games and cell phones.
Yes.
And he used to threaten them with volunteering at the soup kitchen for punishment.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
We should definitely do that. And then
Yeah.
if we get DG on this program, what I want to do is set up a charity boxing event where DG can box with Russ, and all of the proceeds will go to the soup kitchen of DG's choice.
I
What do you
love
think?
it. We got to make it happen.
What do you think?
Russ.
DG
Hello,
says
Russ,
the
come in,
ones
Russ.
that you know of, Russ. DG said, we can say this because we're past the air hour.
Right. That's right.
And DG
You
says,
rogue.
big difference. I babysat since I was 11.
So
We got quite the feud going on over
Oh
here.
goodness, we
Yeah.
need
I
a
hope
DG
he lets us know.
Russ.
The charity boxing
Oh.
event between Russ and DG, all proceeds.
I don't understand the point that
Forward.
DG is making here. Oh, I babysat since I was. What do you want, a cookie? You want a medal?
We'll bring
This
cookies.
is-
We'll bring
this
cookies.
is
A live
getting
event next
heated.
week. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in one
It is
corner
getting
we
more
have
heated.
Russ.
Comments are getting more heated. I don't
all
know.
right, all
Yeah.
right. We're all friends here.
Peace and love. Peace and
If
love.
Russ is not going,
You know what
after
this
you,
reminds me of? You have that video where
Hmm.
Chris and I get into an argument.
No,
Tough
Which
guys
one
for
is that?
Trump.
Mike.
guys
Am I
for Trump.
supposed to pull this
Pull up-
video out of my butt?
Russ, could you pull up Tough Guys for Trump?
Yeah, tough guys for Trump.
Oh
Show the
God.
Tough Guys for Trump video. This is going to be Russ and DG when they meet.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And there'll be cookies though instead. There'll be
Yeah.
cookies.
We
Russ,
just need to kill it, Chris, with peace
Do you have
and
the
love.
ability to pull that up, Russ?
Yeah, would you give me a second? I can't just pull it out of my butt.
And
Come
never
on,
mind.
man.
I want DG to kick your butt now.
Chris, what do you say?
I'm rooting for
Peace-
DG.
Chris,
That's your bedtime, Russ.
peace and love, right? Peace and love.
That's it. I'm on Team DG now.
I
I'm
can do the
gonna be
comment
like
thing
the
all night.
I'm gonna be like
Russ is
Don
back.
King. I'm gonna be
Right.
like Don King for DG now. I'm gonna come out in a fur coat from head to toe.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, DG, greatest fighter on
Here's
this side of the
CB.
Mississippi.
Hi, CB.
DG is the greatest fighter in this side of the Mississippi. He's going to end it in one round, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, in one corner, Russ, the producer, with his cookies and Atari. The corner we have DG coming at you live.
Atari? How old do you think I am, Chris? I didn't play no Atari. The only
No, I'm just kidding.
The only
That's
Atari
from
I
my
played
era.
was on the PlayStation.
I had the Atari 5200, which was pretty cool back in the day.
Yeah, I believe you.
It was twice as good as the 2600. That's why it was called the 5200.
Yeah, Mike, I can't find that video. You're gonna have to like send me a link.
Oh, come
or
on,
I'll
something.
man.
send it.
What are you talking
Wait.
about?
Come on,
right.
man.
Let me find
Just
it.
go to YouTube and go to Mike's channel.
Uh,
Go to Mike G
I
in the
tried
morning.
Yeah, not
Googling
like
it,
the
nothing
producers should
came
be
up.
able to find the videos that we post on our channel.
you
or
know what,
anything,
Mike?
right?
When you produce it
That-
on your
that's
own
unreasonable.
channel,
I'm-
then it's hard to
yeah.
find.
I must be an entitled millennial. I'm asking
Yeah.
and expecting too much. That
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I don't know
producer
are.
of
too
the
much over there,
program.
Mike. Not like we're live on the air or anything.
not like we're live. Good thing we're live.
We're not.
I got it.
You got it.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna post it on the page, okay?
In the dock.
Post it in the doc. We can
Oh,
see tough
good.
guys for Trump.
Yeah,
There
on
we
the
go.
doc. I'm gonna post it now.
That was a good one. Didn't Liberty
Uh-huh.
do the editing on this too? Liberty? You did the editing
Yeah.
on this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot
Special.
more that we have to put out.
hmm
Where is it? I don't see
Okay. I just put it right under the live stream, the latest link there.
Now DG has me so curious as to the identity.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I'm
And
curious.
I-
too.
I text messaged Rich Roberts. This is
What
going
does
on
DG stand for?
going on 10 minutes ago. Who is DG?
I know. Maybe
Might be
we'll have to find
female.
out next show as Philly
Because
Chris
I'm a
said.
Trump girl, so maybe does that
Is it
mean DG's female?
Trump?
Hmm.
Trump girl.
Either way, we're still setting up the charity boxing event.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so
God.
wait, we were just assuming it was a male. How
I
misogynistic.
never assumed anything.
Oh,
to be
I did.
African. Mhm.
DG says I will never tell. That is unfortunate. Looks like Rich Roberts will
Oh.
never tell either.
Yeah.
Oh,
Apparently,
Let's see the
she,
tough guys for
lawyered up
Trump
and
video,
shut up.
though. Lawyer, that might be wise.
Yeah. Smart girl.
Oh, here we go. Play it, Russ.
Here we go, ladies and
Hang on,
gentlemen.
gotta
For the
get-
first
This is-
time
this is-
live on Mikey
This
in the
is
Morning.
Russ and DG.
All right.
Where you going, man?
What's going on?
What's your problem?
What's your problem, man? I'm sorry for bumping into you like that.
I just want you to say, you know what I say?
Hey, bring it in, brother.
Tough guys for Trump.
Oh, good time. Good time.
Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If
That's
you like
gonna be
what
Russ
you
and
saw,
DG?
like our videos and
That's right.
subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to tune in to Mike G in the morning, only on Fox News Radio, WFYL.
And follow
If you
us
haven't-
on Rumble.
Yes, follow. You should
Yeah.
subscribe to that YouTube channel. That would be a good thing. But
Nah, screw YouTube. Get Rumble.
oh, we got people who
Do
are
both.
communicating on YouTube, so it seems to be working, right?
Yeah,
well, they,
yeah.
you know, they used to
So
do
go
that.
ahead and
until Rumble
hit that
has like a
subscribe
platform.
button. Hit
Yeah.
the like button.
Like,
if you're,
share,
if
and
you're watching right now and you haven't yet, do us a favor, hit that like button. We like to track to see, how many people are tuning in, watching, enjoying the program. And if you want to hear about a topic in particular, let us know. We're doing that more real time these days because we've got the comments. It used to be somebody write in and suggest a topic, and now we just talk about it sort of real time. Now that Rich is gone, now we can have the real fun and talk about all the crazy stuff, right? It's almost
That's
like
right.
like TV. I think back in the old days with the wrestling, they had the 1 hour that was like PG, and then when it got into the next hour, then it was for the mature audiences, and things
Right.
got a little bit different, a little more edgy. So what do we got on the agenda for the rest of the program? I know that there are several topics. Philly Chris got like 19 topics over here.
Yeah. Well,
Do we
maybe I
have
could
this
do it like a
boxing
quick
match
rapid fire.
at
It's
the
already
Super
late
It's like
anyway,
a rapid
but
fire.
yeah, some
How
of the
about
stuff
this?
people have.
How about this? Can I take 1 minute and then
No.
I'll be right back. I'll let you sort of
Sure.
No.
take the floor for a second.
Mike will be right back after these words. All right. So now we can just do whatever, right? Cool.
What does that mean?
So-
These words.
Go after it, Philly Chris. Go
I'll
ahead.
do it live. I'm going to do it live. Yeah, just made some notes. Why don't I go through it sort of like a rapid fire like we've done in the past? Folks have probably seen some of the stuff in the news, but we've got the Cuban government doing some pretty wild stuff over there. There's some videos of them actually forcibly removing teenage boys from their homes and forcing them into military service against their own people. So unfortunately, as the pandemic and things continue to happen here, keeping an eye on what's going on in other locations and not too far off the shorelines of Florida there. So some pretty concerning things going on. I did want to mention that Simon Campbell, who we had on a few episodes ago, is really getting a lot of national attention. He was just on Gorka's show the other night, so check him out. Had a really good appearance with him. Wasn't that a good show we had there with him? You guys thought? People standing up for our freedoms and actually taking action out there, which I think, we're all trying to do here on the show. And the more that folks do that, maybe we can slow down the tyranny that we're seeing here at home. I thought this was interesting. If folks haven't seen it, there was a letter that Ron DeSantis sent directly to Biden requesting help for the Cubans. Apparently the internet's been shut off over there, and the Republicans voted to give some assistance to what's going on over there with the Cubans, but of course the Democrats didn't vote for it. So pretty telling, I think what's coming and what's going on here. Not real good stuff, unfortunately.
Party's over.
Hey, Mike's back. All right. Yeah, we just quickly went through some of the stuff going on with Cuba. And that Simon Campbell was on the show recently, and he's getting a lot more attention. He was on Gorka, Mike. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Simon was great.
Yeah, it was a good appearance. If you didn't see it, check it out a few weeks back. This is interesting. DeSantis is what's that?
Hold on a second. I want to talk about this a little bit. Did you hear about this series on Netflix about tyrants?
No,
I canceled.
no.
How to
years
become
ago.
a tyrant? It's
No.
narrated by Peter Dinklage.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Like they're teaching people how to be a tyrant now?
I've heard about it.
Well, basically, it goes through the quote unquote playbook of what all of these dictators and tyrants do in their governments. I think it's important for people to watch now.
Sure.
If you watch something on a platform like Netflix, you've got to expect it to be slanted to some degree.
Right.
You've got to use your brain while you're watching and evaluating. But I do think it's a very interesting series. They go through
Check it
Hitler.
out.
They went through Saddam Hussein, and I'm going to continue it. I'm only on finish the second episode, but you watch all the characteristics of these, ruthless animals.
I sense a
And
watch party coming
Exactly
up.
what they did. Well, it would be a good thing because you see that it always involves, believe it or not, more government control. That's what it always has to do. It always has to do with more tyrants always want more government control. Would you
Interesting
believe
how
that?
works, right? Yeah, you're right. Surprise, right?
They just want to oppress the people and have more government control. I know we can't wrap your head around it, right?
Right.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, very hard to believe. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Interesting.
Yeah, you'll like it. We should have a watch party.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Watch
Gotta do
party.
it soon. Yeah. Miss you
So
guys.
what else is going
Leaving it
on
by
in Cuba? You
Ross.
said.
Yeah, so keeping an eye on what's going on over there. The internet's down. Ron DeSantis sent a letter directly to Biden requesting help for them from the U.S. government, but and I believe the Republicans tried to pass a bill to get assistance, but the Democrats didn't sign off on it, of course. So, which is pretty sad to see how open they're being about supporting tyrannical governments and communism. So, anyway. DeSantis was being criticized for selling, quote unquote, "Don't Fauci my Florida" shirts and mugs. But I think it's kind of comical because Fauci wrote a book and Cuomo wrote a book. So maybe, they should be criticized for having enough time to do that during a pandemic. And I think DeSantis is making a really good point there. Things are going pretty well down in Florida, and a lot of people are moving there due to his policies and the way he's treating Floridians. So
Now I do
interesting.
recall that towards the beginning of the pandemic, Florida had not been hit extremely hard. They started to open back up, and they talked about how this is what you can do. And then there was a little bit of a spike in the virus. You remember that?
Yeah,
And
I think there
that's
was,
when
yeah.
all the left came out and they were like, "Be careful about spiking the ball too early.
Right,
Look what happened
right.
to you," sort of thing. But that's neither here nor there, because my point is, it seems that there still have been many people moving down there despite that. It's
That's
not
right.
like that was some kind of an eye-opening experience where people say, yeah, it looks like they got it wrong down there.
Right.
People acknowledge the risk and have decided that, hey, this is more in line with my values. This is more in line with the way I would like to live my life.
Absolutely. Right. And as you guys recall, I was down there around Christmas time for a trip down to visit my folks, and far fewer people were wearing masks. I even went out to a local Irish pub, and not one person had a mask on in there. Other
And
than
you're
the
just
bartender
reporting
who was-
facts right now. This is what you observe.
That's just
right?
facts.
This is
This
what
is
you
what I
observe.
observe. Yes.
It's
Right.
personal experience.
You're not commenting
Right. So-
on policies. I'm gonna
Correct.
kick off of
That's
YouTube
correct.
again.
I don't think YouTube
Yeah,
is running that bot that detects that kind of stuff anymore, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Who
Yeah,
knows?
So
We would've
CB
been
says,
wrong.
"How can I submit an image I made for the show?"
Oh,
MikeGinthemorning.com, right? Or no,
Yeah.
maybe you can't do it there.
How about on the Twitters?
well, you can
Hmm.
email us too. Let me see. It's just Mike
Let's
G
see.
in the
Yeah.
morning. We
Well,
just made a quick
well,
one.
What's an email?
I think CB can send it to my email. I think CB has my direct email.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, send it to an
Then I'll
email.
put it in the doc. Because if you go through the website, I don't know that there's a way to include an attachment. Oh, CB did send it.
Yeah, maybe.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing.
Oh,
Did
now
you get it
I see.
already? You got it
If I
already?
can
You gonna
say
put it in the
so
doc?
myself. If
Put it in the
I
doc.
may say so myself, this is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Let's check it out.
We are going to have to use this. We're gonna have to plaster
Thanks.
this everywhere. CB just
I'm
made my
excited to
day.
see it.
Russ, I just pasted it into the doc. So if you could bring this up on screen, we got to give CB a serious shout out for this.
Hmm.
CB, what do you do?
I don't see it in the doc, Mike.
CB, do you do?
I don't see it either.
Oh,
I put it on it'll be on the second page. So underneath Philly Chris's,
I see it.
Oh,
did it pop up for you
it
now?
even looks like you, man. That's pretty awesome. Look
That's
at this.
incredible.
Is that a
Wait.
zucchini?
that is a zucchini.
Oh,
Hold on, wait.
wow.
Don't tell everybody. Don't spoil it. Let Russ
Oh
put it up
my
on the
God.
screen.
That's awesome.
That is.
That was fast. Nicely
I made
done.
some zucchini the other night.
That's pretty cool.
DG says, "Isn't Biden helping Cubans?" Wait, better ask Jen Psaki first if he can answer
Right.
that question.
Yeah,
we're gonna
good
circle
point.
back. We're gonna circle back on that one, DG.
Yeah, we'll circle back.
We're gonna circle back on that.
Oh, it's so crazy everything that's going on, isn't it? 2021. I can't wait for 2022. I
Do we have this?
think this winter will be interesting.
Do we have that video? That photo?
Is Russ there?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it.
Hello,
I
Russ,
can't.
come in.
Oh.
I can't save it directly
think,
from the Google Doc
Hi,
for
Russ.
some reason because Google's a moron.
But you can't.
Zucchini.
But can't you
Zucchini
share it? Can't
lives
you
matter.
share the screen with the audience,
Yeah.
like you did when we were looking at the other stuff on the doc?
Yeah, I guess, but it's kind of small.
Is it?
Yeah.
Doesn't look
Make it-
small to me.
Yeah. and if
It
I-
didn't
pretty
look
good
small
over
when you
there,
were
yeah.
showing the
if I
photos
increase
before.
It, then,
It's pretty awesome. Hmm.
All right.
That is
Yeah.
such.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's great. Hmm.
Ha, that's interesting.
I like how he has the click the bell on YouTube, Mike G in the morning.
All right,
Yeah,
here we go.
yeah, that's awesome.
That is really-
Yes.
Well,
Our
I'm
listeners are
talking
so
about it. We don't
intelligent.
have it up on the screen, so
Yeah.
the audience members like, what the heck is this guy
Somebody
talking
put
about?
it on the screen. Oh, there we go. Now, okay, can you just zoom in? Russ, just zoom.
I can't zoom in. It has that stupid adaptive thing where it just makes everything else larger.
Oh,
I think it's reasonably sized. I think that
yeah.
the audience can get the picture.
I think
You have to
Google
post it
Docs
on
is
the
a terrible place
social
for
media
vi-
platforms
How
tomorrow.
cool.
I think Google
Yeah.
Docs is a terrible place to share images. We got to find something better than this.
Yeah. Well, it's Google, you know.
Our resident tech guy.
Yeah.
So when you were having trouble getting it up there, DG says, "Russ, need help from an old fart?"
Yeah,
This
can I
is
use
great.
some of your hot air to like inflate this image?
We're gonna get DG on the payroll.
Yeah, absolutely.
Resident
DJ?
Russ heckler.
Brings a lot to the program, though. I like that.
I will pay good money
Yeah.
for them to heckle Russ. How do you like that? How do you like that from CB?
It's pretty
Tell
awesome.
us if you like it. Give us a thumbs up in the comments.
Attention to
Yeah.
detail.
You know what?
Ooh,
I
if you
think
got
that's
justice in
actually
the back.
worth being the thumbnail for next week's live
absolutely.
stream.
Yes.
This would be great. This would be great, CB. You hit that one out of the park, CB.
Yes,
Yeah.
CB.
Very
So
quick,
much
too.
detail.
Didn't take much time there. We need to take some lessons from CB about the social media stuff.
What I'm going to do
Russ
is I'm gonna
whines
get
too
a-
much.
some kind of I got to get some kind of court photograph where I wear a gray suit and a red tie, and I'll bring a zucchini into the courtroom.
Right. You
do
have
you
to
think?
do it. You have
Would
to
everybody
do it.
like
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I'll take the picture. I'll go along with you that day.
Okay.
Don't worry, Your
DJ
Honor. We're just taking a picture.
DJ is still going after us.
Yeah. I'd love to see what else you can do, CB. Thanks. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
CB, we
Yeah.
appreciate it. All right, good deal. Let's get back on track. Talk a little
All
bit
right.
about the points that you
Zucchini
got.
Lives matter.
Yeah, my next, yesterday, Candace Owens came out announcing a partnership with the new Freedom Phone, which is a phone that is exclusively not on the Apple and other platforms. It's independent, that people have more control over. As we
So
know,
here's what I understand about, and I am not by any stretch of the imagination some kind of technology guy. I'm basically a caveman when
Right.
it comes to this stuff.
I can attest to that.
That's gonna be the new joke, right?
I'll back you up on that 100%, Mike.
Yeah. Well, here's
well, you have other things going on. If you wanted to be, you could, but you don't have time.
well, jury's still out on that. But here,
You could
but
do
he-
anything you want, Mike. I'm trying to be positive.
Yeah. So, what I did see about that is that basically the importance of it is they've got their own app store. So if Apple or Google Play or any of these
Right.
places decide to yank an app like Parler off of their platform, you'll still have
Right.
access to those
Mhm.
by way of this type of a phone.
Mm.
I am not certain
Right.
to what degree it protects your privacy and things of that nature. We did have people on
Sure.
the
I think
show
there's
talking
still
about that,
some
right? We had
risk
Jose talking about that. We
Mhm.
had Jack come on the program talk about
Mhm.
that. I actually emailed Jack last night because he had
Mhm.
come on the program and talk about this is how you protect your privacy. So I
Mhm.
sent him an email with that link last night because a listener had sent it over to me and saying, "Hey, let me know if you think this is a viable option or anything like that." So as soon as I hear back, I'll report back to the audience. But I thought that was interesting. The Freedom Phone, everybody can check that out. I
Yeah.
think I just typed in Freedom
Well,
Phone.
Snowden has talked a lot about what really happens behind the scenes. And also, I think it was reported yesterday or today by Lindsay Kornick on Fox.com. The Biden administration basically has plans now to monitor misinformation in text messages.
Okay, so Daily
personal
Beast,
text-
Hmm.
Daily Beast has take this for what you will, right?
Sure. hmm
When you type in Freedom Phone, the first result that pops up, of course, Google, right?
Mm.
Of course, Google's got no skin in the game here.
No,
Right.
I'm
Right.
It's a
sure.
phone that doesn't use their store.
They're totally
That pops up.
fair.
The phone made to get away from Google and get your grip out of Google. But if you type it in, okay, thanks, Ross. Let's do that real time. You type it in. If you scroll down, the first result is not the phone itself. What is it?
The Daily Beast.
And what does it say?
MAGA World's Freedom Phone, actually budget Chinese phone. Yeah.
It is made in China, like pretty much every other.
Yeah,
phone
I was
of
gonna say pretty much
electronics.
everything
So, yeah, I
is
mean, I
made
don't
in
know.
China.
I think it gives you an edge over, and you're not supporting these larger entities, like Apple and Google. So I think
Yeah,
Candace
but
is.
guys, the thing is, Android has this feature where you can sideload apps. You can sideload whatever you want, basically.
Mhm.
If you can,
Is
if
that
you
sort
can
of like
find it-
one of the
It's
like an unlocked
sideload.
iPhone kind of thing?
I don't know what the iPhone equivalent would be, because once I found out, because the last iPhone I had was the 3GS, and you had to go through iTunes to do anything on that stupid thing.
Right. Yeah, they do
And
keep
it was
pretty
just a
restricted with
giant pain. And then I switched to Android, and I'm like, wow, this is easier. So,
Russ, what does side loading mean?
what do you mean? Oh, side loading means you can get it from a non first party source. So like it doesn't.
Yeah.
So the file for an Android app is called an APK. It's an app package, and if you can find it.
I was curious.
And if someone makes it available on their website where you can install it, then you can just install it. I believe the procedure is you have to go through developer mode to do it. And
Calming Thoughts by Russ, the producer.
and Windows offers the same thing. You can sideload Windows Store apps. And or you know you
That
can
is
and it's
fascinating.
a development thing that you
just
can
lost all our
install it
listeners.
for testing. Essentially. You guys suck.
They're dropping like flies.
Right. The charts are dropping.
The views count
Yeah.
just does.
View count just went to 0, you guys.
All
No.
right.
That is good,
thank
though.
you.
You know what you're talking. Russ does know what he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Um,
needed.
I could just made a whole bunch of crap up. You guys would have
Well,
never
you know.
known.
You could
You're just
have.
like, oh yeah, Russ
I
knows
got
what
the
he's
first part
talking
of it
about.
though.
Remember
Not
that
the
Should
guy
first
next
part.
time. Next time, just
Remember-
make stuff up. Yeah.
In Wayne's World, the guy had
Just make
he
stuff
had the
up.
boring guest on, and he was like, "Thanks for being on Wayne's World. It was informative and stimulating."
Oh, that's funny. We should do like Between Two Ferns, like.
Hey, thank you for
Banakis does
teaching
it.
us about phones, Russ. It was informative and stimulating.
Oh, shut up, Mike.
That's good stuff.
All right. Philly Chris has 1,000 tickets for trash left outside. What the heck?
Yeah, they're
What?
issuing tickets to people, even though the trash folks are not able to keep their normal schedules. I have a friend who has this issue. He puts his trash out. I think today's his trash day, and they don't come sometimes till like Monday. So, apparently
so
they're
he gets a
ticketing-
ticket because they didn't pick up his garbage.
They're ticketing people for leaving their trash out, like on the sidewalk, or out at the end of their driveway. But the trash people are not coming and getting it for several
So
days.
where are you
after the
supposed to
Wait,
put
is
it?
that a crime?
I think it's just nonsense. It's just another thing that's broken in the blue cities. They're not, it's the Philadelphia runs the trash in the city, and they're not coming and getting the trash, and then people are getting tickets. So it's
Well, no. That's
it's,
that's not people getting tickets. That's generating revenue.
well, there you go.
That
Yeah,
it's
exactly,
a
Russ.
tax.
That's right. I
It's a
apologize.
tax of
I
some kind, I'm
apologize.
sure.
It's like the sodas that cost $4 at the cheesesteak places because of the soda tax.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going on. Let's see. China is harvesting DNA from millions of pregnant women around the world. Apparently, BGI Group has their tests in like 4 dozen countries, and they're potentially using this information to, for who knows whatever, evil, tyrannical things to create new viruses. Maybe I'm just hypothetically thinking about it. Who knows what they're up to? Yeah, Tucker did a big thing last night. People may have seen this. The military is flying illegal immigrants now instead of just busing them to various cities, and apparently they're focusing on the, the red states so they can tinker with the electoral college votes potentially. And the military was warned not to document or discuss it or photograph it, but some whistleblowers have come out, which is how Tucker got a hold of that information. So. Also in Cuba, there was a young girl dragged away from her family by police. Apparently, she was protesting. So, some crazy stuff going on in other parts of the world with everything. I'm sure people have seen the civil unrest in South Africa. A lot of the malls are being looted over there, fires breaking out. So, lots of nonsense going on.
I love how we have this whole program where we have fun and we crack jokes to each
Yeah,
other, and
then we
Chris
get all
comes
serious,
on and
right?
he's like, "And actually, the world's about to end." Like, and things are getting really bad out there, folks.
Yeah.
They are though. They are though.
Well, yeah, the serious side of things, I suppose. And we'll have some more updates. Big announcement next week, everybody.
Big announcement.
Big announcement next
Is
week.
it-
So.
Yeah. I had one thing I was going to share about on Twitter. You know, I was just going about my day, whatever. And remember how we always said that even when Trump's gone, they're still going to say stuff about him? It's just
Mhm.
never going to end.
They're gonna cling to January 6th, I'm sure.
Well, yep, you
insurrection?
got it. So,
Yeah.
number 3 trending on Twitter was arrest Trump now on this past Sunday. And I
Oh,
was like, what
for
now? And I
what?
clicked on the video. I guess there's some video came out from this I actually put it on the I put it on the doc, Russ. It says arrest Trump now, and there was this video came out. But you know, after we analyzed it, maybe we could watch it next week. I don't know if there's time now, but it was just like this video came out, and it's so funny. Like, I don't know if I should say or just let you guys see the first couple seconds. You can tell what I'm talking about immediately. Like, remember how we really analyzed January 6th and what Trump actually said, right? So you just have to see this video if you actually watch it from a standpoint of really analyzing it. Anyway, so it was trending, and you could just see that that's going to be their go-to if he does
Right.
run. And you know,
Make
they are
sense.
saying that he's showing up in polls versus Kamala. I can finally say it right, and that he beats her in polls. You know, so this is going to be a big
beat
fight.
Anybody in the primary, right?
Yeah, no, but you
Was she
know,
out fairly quickly?
Yeah.
yep. But they're still bringing that up as a point. You know, that he heads and tails over her. But I think that. But I think this video is interesting because it was just trending number 3. I'm like, what? There he is again. It's just, you know, oh, there it is. Russ got it up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wow, Russ, he was
Alright,
quick.
Let's see.
Oh.
Well, it's easy when it's in the doc.
Actually, Russ didn't do that. That was DG. He hired DG to do it remotely.
It wasn't on the
Oh.
Mike G in the Morning YouTube channel, so it was easier to find.
I don't know.
Yeah,
how-
right.
Oh, and it also says sensitive. It says.
Find things on our own.
Right,
I didn't watch the whole thing. Oh, the first part is the important part. I don't know how long it is.
I don't know. Twitter videos are usually pretty short, so it's probably
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Let's
You
check
want
it out.
You want me
ladies and
just
gentlemen.
play it, get an organic
Yeah.
reaction from everybody?
Sure.
All
Yeah.
right. Here we go.
I know that you have had some time to reflect on what took place on that day, January 6th.
It was a very mild-mannered speech.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol. Take the Capitol. Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength.
Spirit and faith and love. There was such love at that rally. And they were peaceful people. These were great people.
Terrorists dragging the officer down the stairs, beating and stomping and smashing him with a pole flying the American flag.
And I mentioned the word love. The love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.
Wow.
Oh my god, that noise is awful.
Yeah, the noise.
Truth is golden, apparently. Yeah.
Mediastouch.com.
Apparently, they forgot to put the part in there where he said peaceably.
Peacefully and patriotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They conveniently
They're-
left that part
Yeah,
out.
they're putting. It's a mixed message. They're putting they're creating, like a, I don't know, it's like cognitive dissonance type of thing, but they're putting like these like words and making him look like a psychopath.
Sure.
Like
yeah,
literally by
propaganda.
saying the love over the image
And
of
showing
these
that,
people.
right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's
If you
making
couldn't
him look
find
like a
any
psycho.
examples of peaceful people at the speech
Mhm.
earlier on. That
Funny
did
how
not
they
make
didn't
sense,
do that
right?
with all the BLM rioting and.
No,
you
no,
know,
those
the
were
real-
mostly
It is
peaceful.
It's totally hypocritical.
Those were
Uh,
mostly peaceful.
mostly.
Just like
Yeah.
when my GPS tells me directions, it says, okay, you're going to want to turn mostly left here.
Mostly.
You know,
But the
most,
first
mostly
thing that it
left.
says
You
is
can
we're
go a
gonna-
little bit
the
right,
first
but
thing
that's
I
not.
noticed is like it says we're gonna walk down to the Capitol.
Yeah, sure.
And it says show strength. I mean, that's literally the only thing he said. I mean, but then they put it behind these images and they're literally putting it like total blame on him. You know, we talked this a lot. We've already
Well, you
talked
know,
about
he should be in jail apparently.
Walking
so,
is a
yeah.
crime.
Well, if they can take Giuliani's, license away for
Yeah.
right? You know, who knows what's coming next? So
If he would have
that's why I
said
mentioned
lightly
some of this other
job,
stuff
Do you
earlier.
think
that would've been
that's
fine.
another problem? Is that they want to put us in a position where you can't say things like show strength, or you can't say
Sure.
things like fight like hell, which we all
Right.
know what you mean when you say that.
We don't.
Mhm.
They want to put us in a position where we're not allowed to say anything like that. Otherwise, we're considered a domestic terrorist, as they
course.
said in that video.
Mhm.
Because if we don't have that kind of passion and that kind of resolve to counteract their agenda,
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
they're going to get whatever they want.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, if we
So
can't
that's
say
what it's coming
anything-
down to. I mean,
Which
that's
is kind of
really what
what's
all
happening.
this toxic masculinity is about, right? This
That was a
quote
very
unquote-
aggressive statement, Mike.
Mm.
Yeah, right. well, isn't that what it's all about? If you look
Sure.
at any tyrannical government, any dictatorship, what do they always go after for? They take out all the men. They
Yeah,
kill all
yeah.
the men.
Yeah.
And
And that's been happening. And look what's going on with the military. They're even, you know, General Mark Milley came out and said he wants to understand what white rage is, you know, and they're teaching this critical race theory now in the military. It's kind of crazy. You know, who's really running the show here? Who's pulling the strings on these puppets? Like, you know.
CB says
what I mean?
this is ridiculous. What about the summer of love? For
Yeah,
almost
right.
6
Yeah, the
months, it
summer
was
of love,
hell,
yeah.
a 6-block radius taken over by criminals,
Sure.
businesses
Yeah.
burned and looted, police
Yeah.
attacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
And-
just peaceful protesting, like Russ
Knock
said.
it off,
That was
CB.
mostly
Never mind.
peaceful.
Mhm.
Stop
That was
making
mostly
sense over
peaceful.
there.
Yeah, but you have to start looking at things from like the psychological perspective, what they're actually trying to do.
Yeah,
and
it's-
by putting the sweet words in front of that violence, that's what's, you know,
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
it's creepy actually.
But
Yeah,
it's
we're
called
not
the
in a good-
Summer of
place.
Love.
Country is in big trouble.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Right.
not a free country anymore,
Like-
as far as I'm
yeah.
concerned.
Nope.
None of us agree with what
Mhm.
you know, going in there and doing things like that. Like most normal people don't. But the thing
Yeah.
is, with the protests, they were some people were justifying that. And in
Well,
fact, some of the
certainly,
leaders,
if you took what some of the peaceful protesters, because there were legitimate peaceful protesters,
yeah,
if you took what they
It
were
was mostly
saying,
peaceful, yeah.
but if you
If you
if
took
you
what they were
took what
saying,
they were
right.
saying and you put that over the images of destruction, like
Mhm.
CB's saying, and burning and looting, police attacked,
Yeah.
and
We
the
should take that
cars
and
being
modify
turned
it and put
over
the-
and burned, right?
Right, right.
If you took that and put that over that and showed it to somebody on the left, they'd say, "Oh, come on, give me a break. That's
Right.
ridiculous." That's
Right.
exactly what they would say.
Of course.
So they should be expected to take the
That's
same
what I'm saying.
objective approach to this, right?
Mhm.
right. Yeah, and it worked. I mean, it was like I said, number 3. The guy's not even on Twitter anymore. You know, I mean, it's just like it just
Mhm.
never ends, and that's what we're to look forward to if he does run
Right.
again, which he has been on multiple interviews, and including Sean Hannity, and I think he was kind of saying it
It's gonna
without
be him
saying
and
it.
DeSantis. I think him
Yeah.
and DeSantis.
Right? Oh wow,
That's my prediction.
wow,
DeSantis is going to be the vice president.
I think so.
wow.
Yeah. I think that's a.
That's
think
what
that's a
he said to
legitimate
me
call.
the other day, anyway.
How
Just kidding. No. Yeah.
about this? Let us know in the comments who's your prediction for who will be running
Yeah.
on the Republican ticket. Who will it be in
I
2024?
think CB's right. It was all planned. CB's
Or
right.
are we going to end up? Are we going to
All by
end up
design.
with? Man, can you think about this many years? What's the over under? Biden makes it through. CB says they will call me a bigot and a racist. LOL.
Yeah.
Of course.
We're all being called a lot of things, yeah.
Trump will run and will win. That's what
Hope so.
CB said.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see.
Can you imagine we
I'll
go
see.
through all this again, guys?
Oh my
we're
goodness.
gonna,
I can't take it anymore.
we're gonna have phone
Yeah.
calls with Philly
Uh-huh.
Chris.
Yeah, you don't wanna- you don't wanna- Yeah.
But there's
I
a
think this
reason
media
why
will have a
there's,
field day.
there's
pretty
a
crazy.
reason. There's a reason why there's this full court press now. He's no longer in office, right?
Hmm.
There's a reason why they can't quit him. Well, number one, it's great for business for them. Right?
I think they keep covering him so they don't have to cover Biden and his memory loss.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, DG makes a good point. You know, they're getting into our
Yeah.
children's heads. We've talked
Yeah.
about this on the show a little bit.
Mhm.
You know, the propaganda. And look at all the levers they're pulling. You know, the dollar's about to implode in on itself. The inflation's through the roof. Gas just hit like
Glad I got that
$7 in
TV.
certain places in California. They're printing money, like it's leaves on the trees for real now. And quantitative easing, printing of money equals inflation. So it's coming. It's through the roof in other countries. It's coming here. I think this fall and
Right.
winter we're going to see some stuff we've never seen our whole
So
lives.
what's going to happen when the dollar falls? What's going to happen?
Well, they're
when
going to
it's
replace it with the
worthless?
digital currency.
Yes.
That's what they're trying to
That
do.
they
I
can
think.
turn on and turn off as they wish.
And then they
right?
can see
They can do
everything you do. They
whatever-
can
that's
control
right.
it. Yeah. They have the social credit scores behind the scenes ready to roll out on all of us,
Oh, I'm sure.
just like they do in China.
geez.
So, yeah.
Whoops.
Yep.
Yeah,
All right. Anybody who's ever come out with any
I'm trying to get mine as
conservative
low as
thought-
possible.
I agree, Stevie. TikTok is
Yeah.
definitely a problem,
Yeah.
and I get a lot of my content from TikTok. Like I get a lot of my
Mhm.
content reading the comments as to what to see to kind of test the future of our country and what's going on, and it's mind blowing some of the things.
Durso likes Trump, DeSantis.
Trump DeSantis. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
DG's still going after us. See,
I
us
know.
raising your own children does really mean something. It is not easy.
I can't wait
even
to
when you have
see
awesome
them in the
kids
ring
like I
together.
do.
Well, DG, you have to come and do something. Maybe you can come.
Yeah.
You don't have to show your face, but we have to hear your voice.
Yeah, we'll
You're
get
gonna
DG
have
on the
you're gonna
program
have to
next week.
dodge
We
the
can do-
mustard award.
Wait, we can do one of those things like you ever see those drug crime documentaries where they cover up the guy's face?
Yeah, yeah.
What, and alter
Do
the
like a dark
alter the
room with like the
voice?
voice scrambler.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Let's wrap this up in 6 minutes.
Okay.
Now let's
3
push this to 3 hours. We got 15 minutes.
I think we're good, right? It's 9:54. So okay.
Yeah. We get
Mhm.
a cool 3 hours from when we were supposed to start. When everybody was sitting here and ready except for Russ.
Shut up, Mike.
Yeah.
There's always got to be an antagonist. I guess Russ is the Conor McGregor of tonight.
So Biden
Or,
administration has a plan to monitor misinformation in text messages. Is that what you said?
Yeah. That's
How's
they,
he gonna
they announced
remember
that.
what it is?
Say it again.
Just insane. The Biden administration has a plan to monitor misinformation in text messages in your personal
Ooh.
text. I mean, they're looking at
on.
everything already, according to Snowden, but they're just taking it up a notch. We're seeing full-on socialism and communism coming here. They're not even hiding it anymore.
So
So,
then-
it'd be interesting to see.
That is
What
That
happens?
scary.
that tells me that the
Hmm.
market for secure layer messaging systems is going to go through the roof.
Sure. No, they can get into that stuff too.
Oh, I'm sure
Nothing's
there's
really
always going to be a
secure
back
anymore,
door
you know?
built in.
What is it exactly
What do you mean?
that they want to control?
Misinformation.
Well, I think they're actually somehow
Which
going to
they
be
decide
monitoring
what it is.
actual text messaging. They're working with the carriers to look at people's information, text messages. Like if
Oh.
I text you and say, hey, I don't trust the vaccine for this reason, and they classify that as misinformation,
Oh.
I guess they're going to send those people
like
out
if you
to your
say, "Hey,
home to have a
Mike, I'm pretty
conversation
sure
with
this-
you.
Hey, like you said, Mike, what if this virus came out of a lab instead of a bat? Like, would that be misinformation that they?
You're right. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're going to send. Did
No.
you hear about these trusted messengers? They're going to send to people's homes to try to convince you in your own home to get the vaccine.
Oh my
Sort of
Oh
like the
yeah.
Nazis did.
Remember?
You mean
we
Maybe
had
this would be a
the-
good time to play
workers.
that video link. That
Yeah,
video
I
link
just
I put
thought
in
of
there
that.
right above.
The video.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is kind
What
of
video am I
interesting. Yeah,
playing?
play that video link if you don't mind. Ryan.
What video? There's like 5 of them in the doc. You can't just say that.
It's right
video
above
link.
it's right above the wonderful picture that CB did for us there, Mike, with the zucchini. I wonder what changed their minds. It's called.
My goodness.
All right, hang on.
Check that out. Then we can wrap up, I guess, right?
Really scary that.
Well, I think that's going to be an issue for all of us.
If and when the vaccine comes. And it's not likely to go through all the tests that needs to be and the trials that are needed to be done. When we finally do, God willing, get a vaccine, who's going to take the shot? Who's going to take the shot?
Nobody.
You can be the first one to say, sign me up. They now say it's okay. And the question of whether it's real when it's there, that requires enormous transparency. You got to make all of it available to other experts across the nation. so they can look and see. So there's consensus, this is a safe vaccine. If the president announced tomorrow we have a vaccine, would you take it? Only if it was completely transparent, that other experts in the country could look at it. Only if we knew all of what went into it. If Donald Trump can't give answers and the administration can't give answers to these 3 questions, the American people should not have confidence.
But if Donald Trump tells us that we should take it, I'm not taking it.
Jeez.
Yeah. Interesting, right?
Oh, I forgot to share that. Ah, dang. Everyone heard
happened?
the audio.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oops.
Good. Next time.
Durso says, I hear Signal text app is encrypted. Anyone know about it? I don't use it.
I've heard of Signal.
A lot of people are using it. Yeah, Snowden suggested that.
Here's
It's
what I
double
can.
and encrypted. There's a key on each side.
Here's what I can say. I don't know much about this technology stuff. The reason I know about Signal is I ended up having to download it because of a case that I was involved with. So I could get familiar with it for that case. So take that as what you will.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say nothing is 100% ironclad bulletproof.
Right.
When it comes to privacy.
Just a can phone.
I'm not talking about right. Yeah. I'll think about.
Well,
and we could talk another hour about this, right?
Right.
Who is it? Paul Castellano would never talk on the phone, would only meet people in person, talk to them face to
Right.
face, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want true privacy, and even watch that. If you watch about Gotti, how they were bugging, they used somebody else's apartment to have their conversations, and finally they
Right.
figured it out, and they got the warrant, and they bugged these conversations in the
Sure.
apartment. So even a face-to-face conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Or
hear Hunter
anybody can
Biden-
just use their phone. They can have it in their pocket and recording.
CB says, I hear Hunter Biden sold his vaccine for Parmesan cheese. You got to do what you got to do, right? He was in a pinch.
Does that mean he was injected with Parmesan cheese?
But he said in his book that when he didn't have crack, he smoked Parmesan cheese.
Oh.
Did he say that?
Yes, I believe
I definitely
so.
missed that.
I
Wow.
believe so. Yeah.
I'll have to try that after
That
the
sounds
show.
like something. I've known Liberty for a long time. That sounds like something Liberty would do. Liberty's never smoked cigarettes or any drugs, but has smoked Parmesan.
It's got to be healthier than crack, so.
Wait, does it count as smoking Parmesan cheese if my mom burned the pizza when I was younger? Does that count?
Is that what
I
happened?
did
Ryan?
see on a documentary. I've been watching
You're a
one
crack
called
addict.
Dope, and I guess they mix all different ingredients in the stuff to make it last longer, or no,
These
to make
guys
it like
are like they're part scientists, part businessman, part.
they add additives like random things to make the quantity more and make it go further and get more for their dollar. So get more.
I don't know if they cut it. That would be a
They add
very
Parmesan.
expensive way to make drugs, to cut it by using Parmesan cheese,
There's
right?
some
That
expensive
stuff is not.
Parmesan cheese,
Does it
guys.
smell like crack or something? Is that what crack smells like?
I mean, no. I wouldn't know, but Parmesan cheese,
Yeah.
definitely
Like, well,
cheesy.
isn't that funny? He's got a book out though.
Yeah, he said it. CB says he said it in an interview. I guess
Oh,
that's what it was.
okay.
He didn't put it in his book. He told somebody. In
Oh,
an
in an interview.
That's pretty wild.
interview. Might want to keep certain things to yourself, right?
I'm gonna run up to Kensington, see if I can get some.
Get some score some Parmesan cheese.
You guys got any cheese? You got any
Yeah.
Parmesan cheese?
Maybe somebody will turn you on to Pecorino Romano instead.
Yeah, that's
More out of that stuff, bro. Parmesan's the gateway drug.
That's the good stuff.
Hey, I
It's
got a pizza. I got a
$15.99
pizza in the
pound.
car.
Well, I wrap it in provolone and make a
Yeah, right
cigar.
Hit rock bottom, you end up using Locatelli, right?
We have a lot happier people. If everybody was doing that, in all honesty, we'd have a lot happier people.
Everybody was smoking Parmesan cheese.
Yes.
You go to some of those delis, though. You got the fancy stuff. That could be $20 a pound, easy, no?
Yeah, that's
turn
Stevie,
delis into
I think
drug
you have
lords.
to edit the photo and add Mike smoking Parmesan cheese.
Yeah.
With mustard, with mustard on the side.
Some
right.
mustard.
A bowl of
With
mustard.
some mustard on the
Ooh,
side.
some
May as well
provolone
be
dipped in mustard.
smoking a
Too
hoagie.
funny.
That's
funny.
funny.
Hoagies,
All
not
right.
stogies.
Okay, are we all set? Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Change the batteries in your smoke detector.
Oh, hold on. We got to talk about this. We got to talk about this because I heard about this.
Oh no!
I heard about this.
Oh no!
CB says, "What about the artwork that Hunter Biden?"
Oh, that's right.
Selling?
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I meant to put that on my list. Good job, CB.
Now, I have not confirmed.
Should I
this,
Google it?
But what I heard, yeah, go ahead. I heard that he had something sell for like $500,000.
Yeah,
or something like
more
that.
than like a Picasso that was recently discovered. It was like
Okay.
twice the price of the original.
This is like a total organized crime type
Yeah,
move.
and they won't reveal the buyers either.
Oh,
It's
okay.
all under lock and key. Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where to like how we're supposed to forego any kind of common sense, right?
Well, it just shows where we are. It's
Could we see
concerning.
what this thing looks like? Is it like an amazing painting of some
No,
kind?
you could make it with your eyes closed, and if you were in your car and you threw like your soda and no, I don't know. It's just like I don't know. It's crazy.
Somebody barfed on a canvas and they called it art.
Yeah, it's a way to funnel money
you remember?
around. It appears to be. I don't know what's going on.
There was a banana duct taped to a wall, and it was sold as modern art.
Well, let's see a picture of this thing. Is there any way to get a picture of?
I can't find it on the Google. Hang on, I'll share my screen. I'll actually be a good producer. Let's see.
I've only seen a couple pieces of it.
I think this is it, but I'm not pretty sure.
Yeah, that looks similar to what I saw.
Then there's this. Then there's.
I saw one that looks like a face almost. California News Times. It says Hunter Biden's abstract art to sell for $500,000 to anonymous and confidential collectors.
Definitely anonymous.
Yeah, I think this is it.
Yeah.
Let me copy this, and I'll put it in.
I mean,
the
hey,
doc for us.
it's not. Some of it doesn't look that bad, but I don't understand why we go for that much.
Is there more to the
Doing this,
story?
for
That's the
any-
question. The question
I
is:
mean-
Is there more to story? Is this a painting? Right? It's a painting.
Oh, the sun.
By the painting. There you go. Yeah, the sun.
Gotta love the sun.
That's the one on the sun that I'm seeing over here. Interesting.
Yo, duct tape
Duct tape
banana
the-
sold for 120 grand.
I'm gonna make a zucchini that sticks to the wall.
Zucchini, dude. You got to do a zucchini.
Do it, zucchini duct tape.
CB's gonna make
You
us
could
some
retire.
dollars.
You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be. You just retire. Sell a few of those.
This is so stupid. What happens when it rots? Do you just keep replacing the banana?
You get a new one every month.
Oh, I thought it was a picture of a banana. It's an actual banana taped to the wall.
It's a banana duct taped to a wall.
Stop.
That's all it is.
Please stop.
It's living art. Changes
Do you
over
see
time.
this stuff? On one hand, you're thinking, well, who the heck bought that, right? Who paid for that?
Sure.
But on the other hand, you're
Probably
thinking-
Elon Musk, the meme lord.
But then on the other hand, I'm thinking, I must be some kind of an idiot that I haven't figured out how to sell a banana duct tape to a wall for $120,000. No?
Well,
It's like, why didn't I think of that?
Photography.
If your dad was president, you might be able to do that tomorrow.
Yeah, I guess so, right?
I think, yeah. I mean,
I think the guy ate the
come on.
banana. He like duct taped it and just ate it. Look at this.
Did he?
I
We're
don't
gonna
know.
see Philly Chris
That's
on
what
the
he said. That's
streets of
great.
Philly with like bananas and zucchini
Yeah,
and
why not?
trying all different things now. Oh my
You
god.
should get a
That's
picture
pretty
frame,
funny.
duct tape a zucchini to it, and be like, "Hey, would you purchase this?"
No. Yeah, we're living in a bad movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, this one's got 2 duct tapes.
Oh, that one's twice as much.
CB says there was an invisible sculpture that was sold.
Oh my god.
CB, you're cracking us up tonight.
For $18,000, it looks like.
It's invisible.
Oh my.
An Italian artist auctioned off. Of course, it was an Italian guy, right?
Those Italian guys are real smart. I can
Escort them
tell you
out,
that.
$18,300.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like he's not messing around. He's like,
And
"No,
nothing
this is
sells
for
for
real.
15,000.
Do not make fun of my art.
That's funny.
How do
fantastic.
you take that home with you?
Was it heavy?
I think they give you like a private jet or something.
Guys,
They give you an invisible U-Haul truck.
I have to confess, I'm the one who bought it. It's right here.
You know, I heard it's doubled in value, Mike. Isn't that true?
It's
Wait, can we see
amazing.
it again?
If
I want to get a better
anybody-
look at it.
Here you go. It's right here.
Wait,
Oh,
this is
If
very
anybody
I think it might be
wants
getting
if anybody
filtered by the
wants it, I
Skype.
will let it go cheap. I'll actually sell it at a little bit of a loss,
That's
unfortunately, because I got to get rid of it quick. If anybody wants it for 15 grand, I can FedEx it first thing in the morning.
Oh, just check your PayPal. I just sent it over. Oh, look, I got it already. Thanks for emailing
There
it.
you go. Perfect.
This is strange. We're seeing things we never thought we're gonna see.
Oh, yeah.
An Italian
That's
artist
fantastic.
auctioned off an invisible sculpture for $18,300. It's made literally of nothing.
It's genius.
It is a it is a work that
Yeah, why
asks
didn't we
you to
think of that?
activate the power of
It's
imagination.
genius, really.
right.
Yo, this guy's he's a genius.
He is.
He's like, you know what?
Yeah.
Forget putting work
Hey,
into
if you can
things.
get
I'll
away
just
with
tell
it,
him
I
use
guess,
your
why not?
imagination.
I'm gonna sell my
CB says
paper
it
cup.
comes with a certificate of authenticity.
But that's invisible, too. That's probably
Come on,
invisible, too.
guys.
Invisible certificate.
Are we
Here's the certificate, Chris.
are we living in like an alternate reality?
I think so.
You
Thanks
got to
for
give
liberty.
it to the guy, though. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
No.
What do you mean no?
You know,
I wish I thought of that.
yeah. I mean, if
Yeah, I wish I
I
thought
don't
of sold
understand.
nothing to
Like,
an
I need
idiot.
I need to see the person who bought it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I need.
Well, they're invisible, too.
That's the person I'm concerned about, not him.
I
The
only
person
know how to
who-
make money by working my absolute
wait,
tail
hold-
off. I don't know how to make
Tom
money
Miller-
by selling
You're not
invisible
getting
things.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to know who this person is that bought it. That's it. That's all I
Well,
need to know.
You
Florida
probably make
man,
some money duct
yo,
taping some zucchini
Guys.
places, you know?
guys, this
Wait,
gets better.
Wait, it goes.
But
Somebody
wait,
sued
there's
somebody
more.
over it.
But wait, there's more.
Come on.
Florida
guys.
man sues artist over invisible sculpture
Oh,
that
this
sold
is a
for
fake.
$18,000.
Yeah, they're
I
just-
got
Hey,
the real one.
where's my
Got the
certificate
fake.
of authenticity?
Oh, it gets
I
better.
didn't get a
Gets better.
certificate.
You sold me a fake.
Unbelievable.
CB, you gotta keep bringing up these stories, CB. That
Too
is funny.
Yo. Tom
Hmm.
Miller is threatening to file a lawsuit against.
Oh, he had a lawyer?
Guerrara,
Oh my gosh.
claiming that
Stole
the
his
Italian
idea.
artist stole his
Credit him.
idea
No.
and didn't credit it for it.
That's
Yes.
hilarious.
What?
That's exactly my idea, and ideas
It
are
was
important
my
in the
idea
world.
to sell nothing.
Oh.
That's hilarious.
If you Google Tom Miller nothing, you can easily see.
Wow. I think the guy who sold it is a genius. I think the guy who sold it is a genius. The guy who sued him is a loser.
Yeah,
If
that's
you sue
why would you
somebody
admit to
with
that?
the
Yeah.
best idea you could come up with was an
Yo,
invisible
the
sculpture, and you
comments.
couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
The
Oh, Randy
comments.
said
It's in the
Bezos bought
tweet.
it to
Really
take into
taking
space with him.
Space
Yeah.
with them.
Oh, did you guys see people are signing a petition so that he's not allowed back after he enters into space?
That's
There's
funny.
There's a
Hope an
petition
invisible
going,
judge presides. All my hopes
Oh.
and dreams amounted to nothing.
I
So
can't even
if
think. I'm like
anything,
looking around. What can I
like
sell?
Yeah, right.
Like
Yeah,
my
I think
plastic
DG's
cup
right.
here.
Yo,
That's hysterical.
Holy.
Florida is a
Mm.
special place. Yeah.
Man's taking him to court over
Nothing.
Okay, guys. DG is putting us in our place. He said, "Okay, we're
Yeah.
giving this way too much attention."
Oh well, you know.
DG is not
It's
having it.
funny. It's funny.
No more
DG,
funny.
you have to admit.
You
this
know
is
what,
Quite...
DG? If you
I
can't
just
stand
sent
the
an
heat, get out of
invisible
the
text
kitchen.
to DG
Yeah.
saying you're right.
What's
Oh, see,
this?
that was funny, really good.
Too much.
What
All
is-
right.
what
Anything
is
else for
this?
the good of the order? Russ, I want to play that song to close out the program. At the beginning of the program, I don't know how many people have made it all 3 hours, but the bottom line is we opened up with a tribute to my godfather, my Uncle Gary, who passed away last night. He was a professional musician, played with Kiss, played with Cinderella, and many other artists, won Grammys, all the accolades. And we had the opportunity over the years to get in the studio. I did a couple of songs with him. One was the one we did for that video for homeless veterans, and then he actually took that song. It was a song that I wrote. And he had played the keyboards and produced that track, and then he took that song, and we wanted to make it a slower version, and so he made a version that was mainly just the piano and the snare drums. He really slowed it down, and just turned out really, really nice. Chris, we used that slower version in the video you did with the homeless people in Philadelphia during coronavirus. So I just wanted to close out the program with that version of the song.
Awesome.
So Russ, if you got that, why don't you hit it? Nope.
What do you mean, nope?
The unplugged version. The unplugged version you need.
What?
Hungry Unplugged Rough 2.
Oh, Hungry. Okay, hang on.
Russ is doing technical things, ladies and gentlemen. Please stand by.
Shut up, Chris.
Just trying to help you out.
All right, here we go.
I could stand in one place, but I move 'cause I'm hungry. I could stay in this one space, but I move 'cause I'm hungry. Shed the soul of a soldier's death. I walk to the sun with my dying breath. Make me hungry, make me hungry, make me hungry, make me hungry. Shed the soul of a soldier's death. I walk to the sun with my dying breath. Make me hungry, make me hungry, make me hungry, make me hungry. Well, I can't shed the soul of a soldier's death. To the sun with my dying breath. I can't shed the soul of a soldier's death. I walk to the sun with my dying breath. Make me hungry, make me hungry, make me hungry.
Thank you for all of our listeners who have stuck in, and thank you so much for all the kind words of love and support from everybody in the chat. It was great spending time with all of you tonight. We're gonna miss you, Uncle Gary. Love you. World lost a wonderful, wonderful talent. That's all the time we've got for today. Stick around for We the People, The Constitution Matters. Pastor David Whitney, Professor Phil Duffy. I'll be joining as your legal analyst. We miss you, Ellie. Daddy loves you.